All right, welcome to the Krueger Show after Warrior basketball. Warriors lose tonight in Sacramento. They're lighting the beam in Sacramento for the second night in a row. And the Kings have a 2-0 lead on the Golden State Warriors. Welcome to the Krueger Show, everybody. Larry Krueger, joined by Frank Red. Eric Price, Bay Area Baller, is going to join us. Cy's going to be in the house tonight. John Dickinson's going to be in the house. And obviously, all of your comments as well in the chat are appreciated as we get things rolling here right around 10 o'clock. We're definitely going to take this thing to midnight tonight. Baller's going to join us for a little bit, and then he's going to jump off. Cy and John Dickinson will probably join us when their respective shows are over. Dickinson coming off 95.7 The Game's post-game show, and Cy's doing the Locked On Warriors. And Frank, good to see you. The final 114-106, Kings win by 8. An incredible game. Draymond Green ejected from this game. Domantas Sabonis took number of hard hits. Ultimately, it really came down to, I thought, Golden State, 22 turnovers for Golden State, and it led to 25 points for Sacramento. I thought that was a huge factor as we welcome in Bay Area Baller. Baller, good to see you. Kings bench outscored the Warrior bench 32-21, 20-8 for Sabonis. Sacramento, the battle on the glass was even. But the turnovers, way too many turnovers for Golden State. And Sacramento was plus 14 points in the paint. The Kings bench was plus 11 on the night. And Davion Mitchell was huge. He had 11 points off the bench, 17 for Monk, 15 for Herter, who was underrated. Sacramento had 11 steals. And on a night where the Kings shot 7 of 35 from three, only 20%. They wind up beating the Warriors for the second straight night, 114-106. Guys, before we get into all the particulars, give me your basic rundown on this one. Baller, why don't you jump in first here? What'd you think? What'd you think of the performance? And I guess the big question of the night is: are the Warriors done? Cy said that he thinks they are after going down 0-2. I don't think so. I think they're still very much alive.
In my opinion, the series doesn't start until you win a road game, okay? The Kings, they took care of business, all right? Now the Warriors, they got to do the same. They got to win these 2 games at Chase Center, even up the series, and then they're going to have to steal one in Sacramento. But the Kings took care of business. That being said, they flat out outplayed the Warriors tonight. They were just the better basketball team. And while you said, the rebounds, the numbers, they might have matched up, but offensively, the Kings grabbed 12 offensive rebounds, and a lot of them, fellas, were being kicked out to wide open shooters. Like, their offensive rebounds were backbreakers because they're kicking it to a wide open Monk or a wide open Fox. And this game, it was physical as hell. All right. This game, obviously, Draymond ejected. Him and Sabonis were going at it. And I guess you got to credit Sacramento. Whatever Mike Brown told these guys, right? They were atrocious defensively during the regular season. You wouldn't know that today, okay? Steph Curry, 3 of 13 from distance. I thought whether it was Herter or Murray, whoever was on it, they were grabbing them. I'm not complaining about it. They're just being physical, and I thought it bothered Steph a little bit tonight. He didn't get that many clean looks. I also thought Sacramento did a really good job of getting the ball out of Steph's hands in the pick and roll. Like, he had to keep kicking it to Looney, and then now Looney's the decision maker. They got a couple turnovers early. I mean, the turnovers were terrible. What was it? 20 for the game for the Warriors. 9 in the first.
22. Yeah.
22. Thanks for correcting me. But 9 in the first quarter, and I know Sacramento also had 9, but 2 wrongs don't make a right. And then Sacramento did clean it up going forward, whereas the Warriors kept turning the ball over. And the last thing I want to say is, hey, as I don't like these Sacramento fans. I don't like the Kings. Obviously, we're going against them, but Man, this Golden One Center, dude, the vibe is outrageous. Like it feels like it's Oracle Arena in its prime. Like that's just the vibe I'm getting. And I thought it is providing a boost to the Kings. So Warriors coming back home, they got to win these next two.
No doubt, Frank. Give me your initial takeaway on this thing.
I think you hit the nail on the head. The game was lost at 22 turnovers, 25 points off of those turnovers. Beyond that, I thought it was two really good teams playing basketball in the NBA in 1995. I didn't have a problem with it. I actually thought this was one of Kerr's best coaching efforts that I've seen recently. He made numerous adjustments. He went and his analytic play sheet, he took that and he threw it out the window. And he said, Moody, come on, get in there. Just because he looked at him, he said, get in there. And Moody responded with an outstanding game. I think that will serve the Warriors well in game 3 at home, because I don't think Kerr's going to have any hesitation to go to him. He tried to play Kuminga, and he had a -10 right away. He was a deer in headlights.
Oh, I know. He was just not ready.
And he had to take him off of the court. So everybody was like, yo, we want to play Kuminga, this and that. Yo, listen, hey, Sacramento is a really good team. And Mike Brown, guess what? He knows the offense. I was laughing because I'm thinking about when I'm coaching like high school teams, right? And you play against your team without scrimmaging anybody for 3 or 4 weeks. And all of a sudden the defense is just playing your offense. And that's what Sacramento was doing. So there were no back cuts tonight because Sacramento knows what the Warriors are going to do. With regards to Looney, and Larry, you and I talked about the last post game, they tried to throw the ball over the top to Looney, but Mike Brown instructed his players, do not approach him because he's looking to pass the ball. So when they didn't converge on him, he was a little unbalanced. And a lot of times that led to some missed shots because Mike Brown and his staff did a great job scouting the Warriors. Now, I actually have more confidence now watching game 2 after I did game 1. And I'm going to tell you why, because the Kings had an opportunity in the third quarter to really give a kill shot to the Warriors, and they didn't do it. The Warriors hung around. Steve Kerr played multiple defense. He went to a soft zone, then he went to a man-to-man zone, and it caused the Kings some problems. So I think you're going to see a little more zone from the Warriors in game 3 if it's that close a game. I thought that they were physical. They were not intimidated. It was a 22 turnovers. That was a deciding factor in the game. If the Warriors clean that up, I got to think that they win game 3 pretty convincingly and possibly game 4. But that was the difference, the 22 turnovers.
Well, and, I'll give you another difference in this game. You got 0 out of Kuminga and 0 out of Poole. The Warriors are supposed to have the Warriors are supposed to have the better bench.
Right.
But you're not if you get 0 from Kuminga and 0 from Poole. I mean, Jordan Poole, what would you say you do? What's he doing out there? He was 1 of 7 from the field. He took 3 threes. He missed them all. Didn't really get to the line, but twice all night. I mean, had 1
horrible.
assist, one turnover. He's a total non-factor. And this guy's worth $35 million starting next year? Really? I mean, that was a terrible decision. My goodness. Jordan Poole. I mean, my goodness. Where's he been? I mean, he's just a total non-factor. This guy's supposed to be a huge factor for Golden State. Nothing. And then I thought Kerr gave, Kuminga just got him on the floor quickly. He's getting torched. All of a sudden, he's off the floor, never to be heard from again. I mean, not a lot of confidence in Kuminga. Kind of shows how it's amazing. He was playing significant minutes and a significant role for the Warriors down the stretch. And now the playoffs start, and it's like, can't play. Can't use him. He's out of here. I mean, not a lot of faith in Kuminga. I don't think, they pumped him up with enough confidence in the regular season. But, man, Jordan Poole, just really, really bad. And then Wiggins is playing a ton of minutes. I mean, he's playing 39 minutes, and you heard Kerr say, hey, we put him on Fox because we wanted to put our best athlete on Fox. And I kind of agreed with the idea to try to throw a little length on Fox. But I'll say Fox had a moment there in the second half where he just took over, making plays, and some of them were for himself, but a lot of times he was making plays for others. He had a number of key moments, coming down the stretch, I thought, where he really looked good. Klay Thompson had a couple big threes late to get the Warriors, to keep them close. Steph Curry, what was the Steph injury, guys, in the first quarter? What was that? Because it looked like he grabbed his knee.
Yeah, he landed awkwardly. That's like when sometimes you land off rhythm on one of your legs and it kind of burns you a little bit. That was his deal. But, he came back, but it was a physical game. And, man, I love what I saw from the second quarter on. This was a heavyweight fight between two teams that want to win, that got stars. And I'm looking forward to Thursday because, again, it came down to execution. And I was just happy to see Kerr not live in that box. He played Steph a ton of minutes. I thought Wiggins was above average tonight. He was awesome. He had a 0 plus minus. He had 22 points. I thought he played some defense. And even like Fox, what did Fox have? 27, 28? He didn't have 38. All right?
Right. No, they kept him in check.
Yeah, he's a good player. So I say strap it up, man. I mean, we could talk about the Pools of the world. Dante didn't really get a lot of minutes. I'm not going to bang on Dante. I love Dante. He didn't get a lot of minutes. Those minutes went to GP2, who was phenomenal.
He wasn't
like
good
last
right?
year. Well, how many minutes did he play?
DiVincenzo checked in. Monk started cooking them. Second quarter, Warriors had the lead after the first quarter. And then the second quarter start, what happened? Monk went whop, 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 hit 3 threes in a row.
Okay, I'll challenge you with this, though.
Hit me.
They had 9 turnovers in the first quarter. That puts you at a tremendous disadvantage. It gives the opposition a lot of confidence. And I think that was a bigger factor than Dante getting cooked. Because I think, Dante's one of those guys that he's going to give maximum effort. The night was not his best night, but I have no problem playing Dante.
No, absolutely not. No, they need Dante. Yeah. I love Dante. It's just tonight he wasn't good.
I mean, they didn't get anything.
0 points.
How many minutes he played?
13.
Okay. Yeah, he didn't
13 minutes. He didn't take a shot. Take a shot. Only had 2 rebounds, 1 assist, a couple turnovers. He was minus 13. The biggest plus minus of the night for the Warriors was DiVincenzo at minus 13. But Kuminga was also minus 10. Klay Thompson was minus 11. I was hoping that the Warriors would have a solution to Sacramento, who was, let's lay this out there. Sacramento was supposed to be a really bad defensive team. They don't look like a bad defensive team, do they?
I thought so. No.
I mean, Davion Mitchell, I thought, I love Davion Mitchell in the draft. I loved him at Michigan State, and he's got the heart of a lion. He played 28 minutes, or Baylor, I should say. Yeah, I'm thinking Green, Michigan State, but it's Baylor. 14 for Davion in 28 minutes, 3 assists, 2 steals. But he played really good defense on Steph. He's a competitive guy. He hit 2 threes. Got to the line a couple times. I thought Mitchell played well. 14 off the bench. That really helped. They had more. Game 1 was more about Fox and Monk. Today it was more about the rest of the guys. You got Herter got loose a little bit. Herter's got a really quick release. I mean, he took
Mid-range.
9 threes. He only made 2, but
hitting those mid-range game was so smooth.
I mean, he made contested shots, man.
Yeah, he shot over Steph.
He's drifting, twisting.
I had no problem with the Warriors' defense. I thought their defense, by and large, was pretty good. It was giving the opposition easy points off of turnovers is what put them in a bad position. Herter showed you, I am a real player. He was rising up, shooting 24-footers, hitting curls on Steph. I mean, these are good players. They're the number 3 seed for a reason. They're a good team.
There's no question they're a good team, and they didn't even have a good night from 3.
No.
They shot 23%. They took 38 threes. They only made 9. And we're talking about Sacramento now. Fox was 2 of 10. Herder was 2 of 9. I mean, you get 4 of 19 from Fox and Herder from 3, and you still lose by 8. And not only that, guys, Keegan Murray has just been ice cold.
Right.
And what if he gets it going? I mean, he didn't even take a 3. He's a 41% three-point shooter. I'll tell you the guy who I thought was super underrated in this game, and he just kept making the big play and the big moment, was Harrison Barnes.
Yep.
Harrison Barnes is on a mission.
Good point.
He's on a mission. He was disrespected. He was kicked off the Warrior championship team for KD. Everybody knows it. And he's got payback on his mind, and he's played really well. Now, those numbers tonight don't look all that great. 13 points, 6 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals. But Barnes came up with number of big plays, a number of big
vicious
buckets.
Dunks. The Black Falcon came alive. Couple vicious dunks, momentum-shifting kind of plays. And then he had one where he stared down Draymond after. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, yeah, you're right.
The thing about Harrison Barnes that I think we all can admire, he's not intimidated by these guys.
No.
And he plays that way, and that confidence permeates throughout the rest of his team. So now they're not afraid. They're not intimidated. They're like, bring it on. They can't wait till Thursday night. That's how Sacramento is playing right now. And the Warriors can't wait. So from a basketball perspective, we as fans and as people watching the game a little closely, we can't wait because it's going to be a battle. If you look at the series thus far, I think this has been the best series. The Warriors are down 0-2. But again, I have a high level of confidence that the Warriors are going to win game 3 and game 4.
I do too. I mean, they just got to win one in Sacramento but you got to remember this. The Kings had more road wins than any other team in the Western Conference. So it ain't going to be easy. But the hardest one is going to be game 3 because the Kings roll in with tremendous momentum and belief and energy and enthusiasm, and they're being fueled, and it's late in the year, and the Warriors Steph looks a little beat up. They look a little gassed. The flagrant 2 on the ejection, there's no penalty going forward, right, on Green?
No.
He just gets the ejection there.
Yeah.
How'd you guys feel about this game, the way it was officiated? I bring it up just because I think it was a horribly officiated game, not necessarily against the Warriors, but just a horribly officiated game. Klay Thompson got away with a blatant and obvious double dribble in the second quarter. I mean, how do you miss that? He took 2 dribbles, he paused, and then what? Did they think Len tipped it out of his hand or something? To me, I didn't see any tip at all, and then he started dribbling again.
Yeah, that was an obvious missed call.
That was a blown call.
Yeah, it was. But, I thought the referees refed to what they were watching. The first quarter was horrible, and I thought they were horrible. But as the game continued, I thought that they got a pulse on the game, and they said, you know what? We're not going to be the reason why a team loses. And they just let them slug the whole thing out. I mean, they didn't even want to call that foul on Draymond. Draymond was so demonstrative, like going pogo stick on the guy's chest. They had to call it, but they didn't want to do that. I just thought it was they realized this is a tough battle. You have all these incestuous relationships on both sides, and they just want to kind of get out of the way. And I think that made early for them not putting forth their best effort as a team, but I think ultimately the best team won tonight. Sacramento just played a little bit better than the Warriors.
I didn't see anything egregious with the officiating. I thought it was all right. Now, it's a really physical series. You could probably call a foul on the Kings, how they're guarding Steph Curry almost every possession, but you're not going to. You're not going to just halt the game and make it a whistle contest. But the Kings are grabbing Steph. They're holding on to him, not letting him get free. And the rest, they did call it, but I thought the officiating was fine.
First half, Golden State only had 2 points on the break. Kings had a 13-2 fast break point advantage in the first half. I think that's another key factor for Sacramento. They're getting out and getting easy buckets in transition. Golden State not getting those easy buckets at all. They got to fight for everything they're getting in the half court, and it's a tough way to go. You got to get some easy points along the way, and Sacramento really beat them to the punch in that first half. Sacramento was plus 8 points in the paint in the first half. Sacramento's bench was plus 14 in the first half. I thought that was huge. And Golden State, I mean, is it Golden State turning it over and it's not Sacramento to blame, or is Sacramento to blame for Golden State's turnovers? 13 in the first half.
It's a combination. I mean, both of these games, the first possession of game 1 and the first possession of game 2 have been turnovers, like careless turnovers to start the game. And another stat in the first half, fellas, the Warriors only had 8 assists in that whole first half. This is a team that led the NBA in assists per game at 29.8, only 8 assists in the first half. So the ball wasn't hopping around. Anyway, let's hear from you, Frank.
Well, no, Mike Brown knows the offense. That's why. I mean, imagine trying to run your offense against somebody who knows your offense, like they've been practicing against you every day. I mean, Mike Brown was the top assist of the Warriors. He knows every option. And like we talked about previously, when the Warriors get the ball to the middle and they turn their shoulders and they attack the basket, generally the opposition is converging on that passer guy, which is Looney. They're not doing that. They're just kind of sitting back and saying, Looney, go ahead and beat us. And he hasn't been able to do that. He's pretty slow. This was not one of his better games. He got a little frustrated defensively and got in foul trouble. I think that hurt them because they couldn't be as aggressive. This is a tough game. They cannot turn the ball over. They got to take those miscues and turn them into executed baskets to be up, like, say, 10 or 12 in the first quarter, and then play even throughout. Then you'll win by 10 or 12 points.
I'll tell you another thing that stood out to me. Golden State had a nice little thing going end of the second quarter, and it looked like they were going to go into the half with a nice little lead or maybe a tie ball game, and they just kind of fell apart in the final, 90 seconds of the end of the first half. I mean, Curry hits a 3 to tie the game at 52 with a minute left. And then, he fouls Davion Mitchell, hit a couple free throws. Kings up 2. Then Barnes gets a jam in transition. Kings up 4. Then Golden State misses again, and Sabonis gets fouled off an offensive rebound, and then hits 2 of 2 free throws, and the Kings go up 6 at half. I mean, I really thought Golden State, once Curry hit that 3, it was going to be a tie at half, a 1-point game, a 2-point game. They were down 6. They kind of stopped playing at the end of the first half before the half ended.
That's been going on all year. They have not been closing out quarters. How many times have we seen dumb fouls like in the final seconds to close out a quarter or a half? It's been going on all year. The Warriors have been losing focus, in the last minute or so of these quarters.
Then to begin the third quarter, Draymond picks up a couple of quick ones, and all of a sudden he's got 4, and he's headed to the bench. And then here comes Moses Moody in, and immediately he picked up a couple fouls, and you had Sacramento in the bonus at 10:18 mark of the third quarter. I thought that was a kind of a significant thing. I mean, just the fact that Golden State piled up a bunch of fouls immediately, like as fast as you possibly could to begin the third quarter. That was a bad sign right there. Because you had
definitely.
Green in foul trouble and the Kings going to the line, and they showed that stat that the Lakers were the best team in basketball this year at getting into the bonus early. But that's been one of their secrets as well, and it happened in this game.
I actually thought the dam was going to break then. And I thought that's where Kerr actually showed his mettle as a coach, because that's when he changed up his defense. And out of necessity, they went to a soft zone, and Sack kind of jacked up a couple of threes after that, and the Warriors got some rebounds. The game didn't quite get away from them, but it put them in a non-aggressive situation defensively. They really couldn't pressure those guys because they would go to the line. So they were in a bad situation, but I think that they held it together pretty good. when Draymond got kicked out of the game with 7 minutes to go, I thought they could still pull it out, but I thought that they had lost some momentum right there. Because I think that game was in the balance at that point.
Yo says he didn't install anything for the series, talking about Kerr. How is Jonathan Kuminga unplayable all of a sudden? Why is he just standing in the corner? I mean, what guys, what do you make of what's going on with Kuminga? I mean, it's like, I know you don't get a long rope in the playoffs, especially if you're a young player. But I mean, come on, you're going to give him a quick banishment and all of a sudden he's a non-factor. You're going to shorten your bench and take a guy that athletic off the floor and almost like basically seem like you've lost confidence in him that quickly. I don't know. I don't know, man. It's a long series and it's a long playoff run. They got to figure out a way to get him back on the floor in some capacity. Or is he going to be a unplayable player the rest of this series?
I got a bold prediction. I wouldn't be surprised if Kerr went back to Anthony Lamb here at home. And Anthony Lamb, I think there's a chance he comes. I see Frank shaking his head. I think there's a chance you might see Lamb. You go 0-2, they might switch it up. You got to make some adjustments.
Listen.
Let me hear
I'm
it.
a really nice person. And I haven't met you in person, but I like you, right?
Thank you.
Dude, I buy you and your lovely wife dinner if he puts Anthony Lamb in the game.
Okay.
All right?
I
mean, up to $100. You know, we're not going to go crazy.
No, I wouldn't do that to you. Hey, let's grab a burger.
Listen, I'm joking with you. But I'll buy
you don't think he's going back to Lamb?
No way. They will come down out of the rafters with masks and I don't know, those balloons or whatever it is, and they'll get Kerr so bad. No way. He's not.
Lamb was playing ahead of Moody practically the whole year, probably until like the last 4 games of the season. Kerr finally made the switch. But getting back to Kuminga, not besides the point. Kuminga came in the game and they try to stick him on De'Aaron Fox. Okay, I know they've been trying to make Kuminga into this lockdown, lengthy guard stopper. He's not that yet. Not yet. That's not what he should be doing. Put him on a wing. Put him on Keegan, because they put him on Fox. Fox blew right by him and went to the rim. The only players really that should be trying to strategically match up with Fox are GP2 and Andrew Wiggins. So I think they're going to have to tweak Kuminga's role. I don't think you want to put him as this point guard stopper.
Larry, let me say this. I mean, if they can limit their turnovers in the first quarter, then you can play a Kuminga and give him some range to make some mistakes, because on the flip side of that, he's going to make some spectacular plays, get some dunks, some rebounds. But when the veterans don't do their job, when you come out in the first quarter and you put yourselves in such a hole with 9 turnovers against a good team, then, you come off the bench and you make 1 or 2 mistakes, you're going to sit down. So the veterans got to do a better job at the start of the game.
I just think that, to me, if you say what's really surprised you 2 games into this series, I would have to say that I thought Golden State had more going on as far as momentum on their bench. I thought Kuminga would have a bigger role. I thought DiVincenzo would play better. I thought Jordan Poole would be a force. I thought there was a chance we would see Moses Moody do something. I thought Gary Payton would be a lockdown defender and be really good. Payton was not bad tonight. I mean, I thought he played a pretty good game, actually. 27 minutes, 13 points, 6 rebounds, a couple steals, 5 of 6 from the field, very efficient, hit both threes, hit one of his 2 free throws. But if there's one area that I just didn't think would be going like this, I thought the Warriors were the deeper team with the deeper bench, and 2 games in, Sacramento looks like the deeper team with the deeper bench. What do you guys think? I mean, game 1, Lyles looked good off the bench. Today Mitchell looked terrific off the bench. Malik Monk might be the second best player in the series to Fox as the way he's played. I mean, Malik Monk is just an incredible player. I just think I thought Sacramento was going to be 3 deep off the bench. I thought it was going to be Lyles and Mitchell and Monk, and that they would have to kind of make do from there. But no, they've gotten good minutes out of Len. They've gotten good minutes out of Monk, Mitchell, Lyles. I mean, they're getting nice production off their bench, and Golden State's bench, for whatever reason, for a number of reasons, is kind of evaporated.
Let's be honest. I can sound like I watch the game pretty closely, like everybody does, and I see when someone makes a defensive mistake, or throws like a crazy pass. Yo, man, Jordan Poole has been horrible.
Horrible.
And I mean, absolutely horrible. And then the third quarter, then he started talking to the referees again. And the referees are like, dude, get out of here. And then on the bench, you see like antics. He's got missing, trying to shake his fingers for the opposition to miss free throws. I'm like, yo, dude, let's be honest. I wish the punch never happened. I don't support that type of action at all. But talk about irony. If that doesn't happen, he doesn't get that contract. He doesn't. And the Warriors then potentially have some money to maneuver and do some things because their veteran guys are tired. They're exhibiting their championship medal. When a player of Stephen Curry's magnitude makes crazy turnovers like that, Larry, you're tired. Your focus is not there. Yes.
How about Wiggins with that walking underneath the bucket? I mean, that was a terrible play in a playoff game.
You need your bench to come off and say, listen, I mean, like a Maxey playing for Philly right now. If he starts, he comes off the bench, he's full of energy. We haven't seen that from Jordan Poole. I hope we see it on Thursday, but the turnovers, and as you said, the lack of production by the Warrior bench primetime players, I think is what put them in a real desperate situation right now.
The Warriors are not done, but in my opinion, they probably are done. I mean, I think they're not done as far as I think they could easily go back to San Francisco and win games 3 and game 4, and the whole series feels different. But Sacramento looks deeper. They look more energetic. This is April. These guys have been going at it since Halloween. Training camp started in September. The Warriors tried to what do you call it, load management their way through the season. They tried to kind of take it easy on themselves, and they did. And Kerr rested people liberally, and they didn't bring their A game, and they didn't expend a ton of energy, and they felt like they had enough momentum going down the stretch of the regular season. But now they're facing a team that's a totally different animal, that has tons of energy, that's being fueled by the enthusiasm of turning this whole thing around. That's they're a dominating looking team, in their building right now, and they've won a lot of games on the road. So I just think Sacramento looks like it's their time. It's a young man's game. Golden State's dynasty probably has come to an end here, and I don't think Golden State's done tonight, but if you said to me, is Golden State going to – I mean, think about all the energy it's going to take to get back, go back to San Francisco, find a way to beat this team, find a way to reverse the momentum, and then you're going to have to still go back up there and win a game in their place when you've been god-awful on the road all year long. It just to me, I mean, Golden State's not done, but I don't think they have it in them to take down a team that has this much energy and this much firepower. Fox is in his prime. Sabonis is in his prime. The Warriors needed this year. I mean, we talked about it at the beginning of the year. By the end of the year, Kuminga and Moody and Wiseman are gonna, and Poole are really gonna be taking over. And no, didn't happen. Wiseman was so bad he had to be dealt. Poole is evaporated, and as Frank said, is trying to negotiate with officials. He's mentally in a weird spot. Moody's been pretty much banished to the bench. most of the year by Kerr, never really gotten any kind of rhythm. And Kuminga got into a regular season rhythm, but man, couple quick, unimpressive outings in the playoffs, and he looks more banished right now than Moses Moody. So your entire ready for prime time, and your old core looks old. And that's where they're at when you're taking on a team that has a bunch of, it's fueled by enthusiasm and has a bunch of guys in the prime of their career. Sacramento's not the perfect team, but I don't think Golden State has the energy to match them. I really don't.
I think coming back home to the Chase Center can provide a boost. I think it does. When you got the home crowd kind of cheering you on and giving you that boost, that's what the Kings have had at the Golden One. That might give them just enough edge and just enough momentum to maybe switch some things up. I mean, the Warriors, they're down 0-2, but they've been within striking distance. That being said, they haven't played their best game. And on the opposite side, the Kings haven't played their best game, either game one or game two, and they're 2-0. So the biggest surprise to me, Larry, when you had mentioned how the Kings bench has outperformed the Warriors bench, the biggest surprise to me is this Kings defense. Like, I thought they were coming in I thought the Warriors were going to put up, 120, 130 easily. Now, that's probably shame on me.
It's interesting. It's an interesting thing, Baller, because it's almost like, I don't know, it's kind of like the opposite of what I thought, we would see. I thought Sacramento this year with Mike Brown, when he was going there, when it was first announced that they had hired Mike Brown over Mark Jackson, I thought, okay, Kings are really going to be good on defense. They're going to play a lot of defense, and maybe over the course of the season they'll get their offense rolling. Instead, Mike Brown just said, we're going to run and gun, and we want our guys shooting threes, and we're going to play fast, and we're going to put the ball in Fox's hands and go up tempo, and their offense has been great. But it's almost like Mike now has schemed up their defense in the playoffs, and we'll see if they get beyond this series, if he continues to do that going forward. But he knows Steph and Klay, and he knows that they don't like to be neither of those guys likes to be, physically manhandled at all. The advantage they have is they can shoot the ball with such range that they oftentimes can kind of camp out deeper than you want to set your defense. But Mike Brown's like, screw that. We're going to set our defense in their lap, and we're going to challenge them and get up on them and force them to adjust. I haven't seen the adjustment, fellas. Have not seen the adjustment. Steph looks tired. Klay looks hurried. They don't look like they're looking to make two passes and get a layup. They're looking like they want to pound the dribble, get a screen, and hoist a deep three with a hand in their face, and you're not going to win that way.
No,
you're just not winning that way.
I hate to say it also, but the other factor in Thursday's game potentially will be the referees, because we all saw. I mean, you can look at Stephen Curry and Klay, and they look like they were doing the tango. You know what I'm saying? I don't think they're going to allow that to happen on Thursday night. The refs will look at this game, and you had Adam at the game, the commissioner. This is a money thing also. I don't think there's anything nefarious about it, but they want, if they can do anything to have a long series, they want to have that happen. And those little grab and hold things that we've watched and become comfortable with over the first two games, I don't think you're going to see that a game three. I just really don't. And that changes your defense. I mean, when the referee blows the foul call, even before you touch your defensive guy, something is up. So let's look at the number of fouls that Sacramento was called for on Thursday, because they got away with a lot of stuff I think that could have been called fouls.
I blame Dellavedova. He's on that Sacramento bench. We obviously know what kind of a pest he was in Cleveland, but he's on the bench telling these guys, telling Mitchell, and even Herter I thought Herter actually surprisingly made things tough on Steph Curry for a period of time there. But I think Dellavedova's in their ear saying, hey, do this, do that, go grab him here.
They had a good whistle. They did.
I thought Herter was really good in this game, guys. Herter's an interesting guy. I thought I didn't like Atlanta's decision to move him. I loved him at Maryland. He can flat out shoot it. He reminds me in a lot of ways offensively of Klay Thompson because he's not 6'4", he's not 6'5", he's closer to 6'8", and he's got a great shot, and he's not an incredible athlete, but he's got a nice footwork to be able to move, in little subtle movements and free himself up. And he understands how to square the shoulders in the mid range and knock those shots down. He's just a really underrated player, and he has to be guarded at all times because if you lose track of him and he squares the shoulders and he's inside the arc, I mean it's going down. I also thought Davion Mitchell hit the biggest shot, that dagger 3 in front of the Kings bench.
Yep.
That was the kill shot right there.
It really was.
Davion's a hell of a player. Mark Hope says, Larry, my guy, I love you, bro. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate you. A lot of people in the chat here. And, I'll go to some of the starred chats. Jim says Sabonis destroyed the Warriors. Nick J says, I thought the Kings D sucked. They've been flying and putting pressure on the Dubs. Mike Brown effect. Tammy McDaniel in the house says the Warriors need better role players. I would trade Poole, get rid of that fat contract. I threw in fat, and pick up some veterans with playoff experience that can play defense. Yeah, I mean, ultimately, we got plenty of time to talk about this, but I don't know what the Warriors' offseason is going to look like, but there's just it's weird watching Jordan Poole. It's like Poole's greatest stretch of his career, the stretch that got him the contract, was when he was operating on the floor without Steph Curry. When Steph was out, he had like an awesome stretch last year, and he earned himself that contract. And then the Draymond punch probably gave him even that much more leverage, and the Warriors paid him even more than they should have. But to me, I've never really liked Jordan Poole. I've just kind of stomached him. I mean, I'm glad that he works hard and he was a pleasant surprise, but I just don't love his game. He's not a high percentage 3-point shooter. He falls in love with the 3-point shot. He doesn't seem like he wants the contact at all when he drives in. But I mean, so it's like if you have this skill set where you can beat anybody at will off the dribble, but you don't want to take any physical punishment, and you're not a great 3-point shooter, you start settling for what you're second best at most of the time, and that's what he does. And he's streaky. When it's going down, it looks awesome. And when it ain't, it's like, get him off the floor. And he's been atrocious in the first 2 games of this series. I mean, this guy is going to be making $35 million next year, and he is terrible. I mean, he's not like he's not great in this series. He has been terrible. MF says the Warriors still win this series. Banks says, Banks says, Floyd Mayweather doing there? Was Floyd in the house?
Yeah, he was there. That's all.
Yeah, sitting right next to the owner.
Yep.
He had Barry game 1. He's got Floyd game 2. I think he just makes calls and just sees whatever high profile athlete or celebrity he can get sitting next to him. Probably comps the tickets.
I'll tell you who I did see sitting on the baseline was my old fraternity brother from Sac State, the great Dale Carlson, who created the founder of the sleep train.
Wow.
Then, of course, he sold it to Mattress Firm a couple years ago for, wait for it, $395 million. How about that?
A lot of money.
He was sitting courtside tonight with his wife, the great Dale Carlson, in the house, wearing his purple shirt. This is it. I mean, this is the biggest show in town. The Kings fans have been waiting for this for a long time. There's a lot of energy. There's a lot of emotion. Emotion won't be there Thursday night at Chase. At least not Kings emotion, or will it? Will Kings fans find a way with their unbelief? I mean, you got to remember, the Kings fans are, they've been out of it for a long time. The Warrior fans somehow could not buy tickets to the first 2 games of this series. Will the Kings fans buy up on the secondary market a bunch of tickets and create a Golden One South vibe Thursday night? What do you guys think? I mean, to me at this point, I got to think it's possible.
No.
Baller
It
says
ain't
no.
happening. It ain't happening. If it does, I'm going to be seriously pissed.
Well, here's the deal. If the Warriors were still in Oakland, it would not happen.
Right.
I don't know about this fan base of the Golden State Warriors. I know they're great people. They love their team. But, I mean, we're watching this game saying, you know what? The Warriors lost to a team that kicked their butt because they were a little better the first two games. I'm wondering if the Warrior fans are saying, well, what's going on? Why isn't our team winning? The tickets are so expensive. I'm not going to pay for this. I'm going to watch the game on television. So,
right. I don't want to be there at the scene when the Warriors dynasty ends. We'll see.
That wouldn't happen in Oakland.
No.
No way.
Spencer Stewart said, would love to be wrong, but I don't see the Warriors getting back in this series. Dubs just stink on the road. Going to be very tough. Kings win just one at Chase, and this series is done. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. I mean, the hardest game to win for sure is going to be game 3 because you're going to have to halt all their momentum. Mm-hmm. And right now, the Kings don't have a lot of doubt. You know, they were the better team in the regular season. Mike Brown has done a great sell job on them. He's pumped them full of confidence. They've beaten the world champs 2 times. They're going to roll in and probably have a real strong first half in game 3. So it's like Golden State's going to have to, you know, they're going to have to hold on for dear life, somehow get a win and try to halt that momentum and create some doubt. I mean, this is a young team. I mean, is there an adjustment that you guys see that Kerr can make going into game 3 that could change the vibe?
They can't.
Got a lot of people saying light the beam, by the way. I got a lot of light the beams in the chat.
I mean, I just think that like some of these turnovers just inexplicable, you know? I mean, just that leads to easy baskets. They're not that good where they can do that. So I don't know if it's starting off slower, running less. I'm not quite sure. I think it's just I'd be just reiterating the point that, fellas, what are we doing? Because you're talking about Hall of Fame players. They know better than this. They know that this is going to put them in a dire situation if they turn the ball over. But these are habits that we've seen the entire year. This is nothing new. So, I mean, can they turn that switch and all of a sudden become more careful in terms of how they handle the basketball? That's the key for me because they're going to be pressured. Mike Brown's going to increase the pressure. He's not going to turn it off. He's going to turn it up. So they got to take care of the basketball.
Baller, what do you think? Do you see any adjustment you want to see them make before game 3?
You know, in terms of personnel, if they were to tweak anything, I mean, can they take minutes away from Jordan Poole? I already threw out maybe Kerr goes back to his guy that he rode all regular season in Anthony Lamb. I think there is a chance that might be one rotation tweak. But shoot, I had something, but I lost it. But go
Digital
ahead,
Drew says Kerr pulled to Kuminga too quick. Got to get the kid minutes and used to the environment, and the Dubs need to match the athleticism of the Kings. I'm with you on that as well. I know JD is going to jump in here at some point and say that, you know, Kuminga got roasted and the moment was too big. Come on, man. You know, you're talking about a 20-year-old player. He is too important. This guy played too big a role for Golden State down the stretch for them just to say, bad couple minutes, he's banished. You know, they got to figure out a way to use him. I understood the idea of putting him on Fox because you got to bother Fox with a long athlete. And Fox, you know, Wiggins did a good job, I thought, on Fox.
You did.
You know, but, you know, you can't just quit on Kuminga that fast. I think if there's one complaint I would have with Kerr is that this entire year he hasn't given enough confidence to the young players. You know, not enough minutes for Wiseman, not enough confidence for Moody, not enough confidence for Kuminga. I mean, and yet there was a lot of resting of the veteran players throughout the year, so there were plenty of minutes to go around, but he gave those minutes to Lamb and Jerome and you know, guys like that, the two-way guys throughout the year trying to chase down a win here and a win there, and he traded the development of Moody and Kuminga and Wiseman for it. And if I'm Joe Lacob, I'm pissed off about that. You know, I love Steve Kerr, but come on, man. This whole year, you got rid of your bench for those 3 young guys, and it was like at the beginning of the year, we're like, you know what? They're going to have to develop these young guys, and nice thing is they'll have plenty of minutes, and those guys didn't develop. I mean, we're here in the playoffs. Wiseman's gone. Kuminga was banished, and Moody is barely in the rotation. So if you had told me at the beginning of the year you weren't going to have GP2, you're not going to have Bielitsa, you're not going to have Otto Porter, and then that James Wiseman's going to be a 0, Moses Moody's not in the rotation come playoff time, and Kuminga is going to be your confidence, your coach's confidence in Kuminga is so fragile that if any bad 3 or 4 minute stretch and he's just like, sit down, get out of here, sit the heck down, Jonathan. It's like if you told me that was the situation beginning of the year, I would have said no chance. No chance for Golden State to win and defend their title. And as we sit here right now, I don't give them much of a chance. Now, it's not over. They've had their back to the wall. They are a championship club. Their fans will be going crazy Thursday night. They will respond with better energy. But, it's – I don't know. I mean, to me, it's still like you're still asking Steph, Klay, and Draymond and the original cast now in their mid-30s to shoulder the entire load because you either drafted the wrong guys or couldn't develop the guys you drafted. And that's where they're at. And it's not like no young players around the league develop. I watch OKC all the time. They look pretty good this year, and they had a lot of young guys playing a lot of minutes. So how did they develop their young guys? And how many less wins did they have than Golden State? And they played young guys all year. So I just think that, that was going to be the problem for Golden State. Were they not enough guys in their prime? A little too old, a little too young. But then I figured, you know what? The young guys will get that experience by playoff time. They'll be battle tested. We're here in playoff time. Wiseman's gone, and the other 2 guys have almost no role. It's too much to ask.
It's interesting because I think that you laid it out really, really well. But this is who Kerr is. All of Kerr's coaching mentors do not like to play young players. Kyle Anderson, who's a solid player with Minnesota, remember? This dude didn't even play his first 3 years in San Antonio. Pop wouldn't play him. Pop had him in the G League and spot duty, stuff like that. And I mean, and Phil Jackson's the same way. Kerr loves Phil Jackson. They don't play young guys. And I think that mindset really put the Warriors in a difficult situation. And it was good to see tonight Kerr go against that a little bit. Maybe it was because of foul trouble, but we talked about it. You don't get better by sitting on the bench. He played Moody tonight, and Moody showed him that he should have been playing even more, right? Kuminga, I didn't have a problem getting him out of the first half, but you got to give him another chance. You can't not play him in the second half because he's too valuable to the team. And he, as a 20-year-old, is going to sit on the bench and sulk and go, why aren't I getting my opportunity like such and such? Such and such is making mistakes. Why can't I get out there and play also? So you run the risk of losing him by not giving him another opportunity. So, but I think this is who Kerr is as a basketball coach. He gets really fixated in what he wants to do.
The player I'm looking at that needs to step it up, fellas, it'd be great if Kuminga did. We know he's still a young player. But I'm looking at DiVincenzo. I mean, this is a guy who had such a really good regular season. He attacks the glass. He was hitting threes. He's playing, solid defense, but adequate defender. That's the guy who coming home, he's going to have to get off for, 15 points. DiVincenzo is the player who, I trust him more than Jordan Poole. But tonight, he was nothing. He didn't even attempt a shot. He had 0 points. So I'm looking at DiVincenzo as the guy. If the Warriors are going to win this series, he's going to have to step it up.
2 moments in this game that made me think the Warriors are cooked. Not just tonight, just period. Here's one of them. Woodpit 420, dribbling around and wasting the shot clock and getting a 24-second shot clock violation on the ball that Wiggins threw off the side of the backboard. That was just a rushed shot. 24-second violation. It happened multiple times where they literally lost control. I don't know if it was the noise in the building. If they're the defending champs and they're the ones with all the veteran players. They sure looked spooked, didn't they? They sure looked spooked by the crowd and by the emotion. How many? I mean, I would say 2 or 3 times they either let the shot clock violation occur or just took a really bad rushed shot way late, like they had just realized where they were on the clock. And then the one that has to be mentioned, and we haven't even talked about it yet, but it absolutely was probably the most embarrassing moment of the entire night. Do you guys know where I'm going on this one?
When Draymond ran over Steph Curry.
Yeah, Tim Donaghy's crew. Draymond creating a turnover on Curry by bumping into him in the open floor from behind.
Mm-hmm.
That's, as Bryce Harper would say, that's clown stuff, bro. What I mean? It's like, that right there kind of makes you go, something ain't right.
No.
Yeah, something ain't right. When Draymond's bumping into Curry and causing turnovers, something ain't right. So, credit Sacramento, credit Mike Brown. They had all the motivation in the world. They were underdogs. I mentioned this stat at the beginning of the series. I read it. Since 1969, there have been 6 series where the lower seed, outside of the 4-5, outside of the 4-5 matchup, there's been 6 series where the lower seeded team was favored to win the series, and the higher seeded team is 5-1 in those 6 series. And if Sacramento wins 2 more games, that'll make it 6-1 in those 7. So, I think if we're getting a message here, we're getting a message that, you could look at this a lot of ways. You could say, hey, you know what? There is no such thing as flipping a switch. You are who you are. And the regular season is, the only form that we have to look at, and we should never look at it ever again and say, the only form that we have to look at means nothing. You know what I mean? We should never, ever get used to being like, hey, yeah, they've played every, 3 times a week since, since basically November 1st. But what we're seeing isn't real. What we're seeing is real. We welcome the man who was locked on Warriors. Cy Satsis joins us after this thing. Cy, what kinds of messages were you sharing with the great people on Locked On?
Well, Kylan, who she will come on soon. She's about to take off to go to a wedding, but Kylan is a lot more optimistic than I am. I'm for the first time since I've pretty much become like a primary Warriors media member. I'm pressing a panic button, man. I'm freaking out. I'm seeing the potential end of the dynasty. I'm seeing Steve Kerr and all his flaws being exposed in front of the world now. I'm seeing a team that is small, and you're seeing the results of that. I mean, basketball is a sport that does not reward tiny teams. The exception to that are teams that can shoot lights out, but the Warriors are not shooting lights out in this series. They're doing okay, but they put up 106 against one of the worst defenses in the league. That's not good. So it's just, for me, it's doom and gloom, man. I hate to be that way. I'm not saying it's over. But again, the Warriors had the worst road record by any defending world champion entering the postseason. The one exception were the 99 Bulls. I don't count that because it was a strike-shortened season. That team had lost Jordan, Pippen, Phil, Rodman, everyone. So they were just in rebuild mode. This Warriors team was not in rebuild mode. Everyone thought they were gunning for a repeat world championship, but they finished 11-30, which is an awful road record. And my concern was that just an anomaly? Was that just the Warriors players not taking the regular season seriously because it's boring to them? It's nothing new. But now my worst fears are being realized. I mean, they're down 0-2 to a Sacramento Kings team that did not play great at home this year. I think they were 23-18 at home, and they're getting beat largely because Steve Kerr is very stubborn in who he plays. I'm glad we finally saw Moses Moody tonight for 8 minutes and change, and you saw what happened. He played great ball. They did good. I'd like to see similar minute distribution to Kuminga. I don't know why Kuminga suddenly has fallen, completely off Kuminga's depth chart, off Kerr's depth chart. And so I'm seeing a head coach getting out coached. I'm seeing a Warriors core that's suddenly looking old. And I'm freaking out. Yeah, that's where I'm at.
Well, they
Do you
are
think?
old.
Yeah, they are old. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
They're old. They're old.
And old guys that play more than 34, 35 minutes a game, the production really starts to diminish at that point. So
Yeah.
Green Glass Full says Draymond's a washed punk. Go Kings.
Why is he a punk? Like, to anyone who says he's a punk, are you going to call Sabonis a punk for grabbing his leg? Did you hear what Draymond said as well in the post game? So I don't know how you guys felt. I'm sure you cover this ad nauseum. But I actually I tried to reenact in my living room, like what I would do if someone just grabbed like this with both their arms, not just hands, like arms. If they grab my ankle, like what would you do, right? So you have one leg you can operate with, and the only thing Draymond could have done, and he completely repeated this in his press conference. We played the sound right after, which was awesome. Is either he was going to do the splits because he would have had to avoid Sabonis altogether. And he admitted that, his body can't handle doing a contortion like that. He could have fallen flat on his face to avoid stepping on the man that's grabbing his leg. Or he could try and take a step and not kill the guy. And, it looked bad. The optics were bad. And I think Draymond was stupid because he should be more aware of the fact that he has garnered this reputation, whether or not it's fair. He needs to be aware of the fact that all his actions are being looked at under a microscope. And so he screwed up in terms of his reaction. But when you consider the fact that this was not the first time in the series where he's been grabbed by his leg, he alluded to game one, Malik Monk doing the same thing, and the referees aren't doing a thing. They're just letting it happen. So I could understand his frustration, and I just don't know what else you could have done. I mean, Kylan said maybe you could have fallen. I'm like, all right, yeah, I guess you could do that. But when you reenacted yourself, it's incredibly hard to have control of your body with just one leg. So if anyone is going to call Draymond a punk for doing that, call Sabonis a punk as well, because he started the whole damn thing. He started it. This would not have happened if Sabonis was not doing a dirty play. That's dirty. Grabbing someone's leg like that.
It's not a basketball. It's not a basketball play.
It's dirty.
So, to me, the initiator, anytime things go from basketball play to non-basketball play, or whatever sport you're talking about, baseball play to non-baseball play, football play to non-football play, whoever initiates the first, I'm going outside of our sport to do something that's not in any way part of the sport, should get the entire blame. Not some of the blame, the entire blame. I agree with Cy on this one. If you're grabbing Draymond's leg, Draymond really gave him a break there. All he had to do was just put his other foot down and push off. But instead, he kind of, he stomped him a little bit in kind of a way that looked bad because it looked like it was premeditated. But the other option was put all of his 250-pound weight on the guy's sternum. That was the other option because his foot's got to land somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I disagree with Kylan. It's not Draymond's obligation to go to the ground to protect a guy who's going outside of a basketball play and committing an egregious foul. So I thought that was a really, I thought that one. I didn't like the way that was called. I didn't like the ejection there.
It sucks because he got baited. I feel like it's the same thing LeBron did to Draymond in 2016. Draymond walked over him. I mean, there's a code of conduct on.
No, LeBron walked over Draymond.
Exactly, and so that's what I'm saying. He got baited.
Which if you do that come on, we've all played enough pickup basketball. If you want to disrespect somebody, you walk over them. And come on. I mean, that's like, that's just universal. I mean, that's just universal. And to me, a reciprocal response is get off me, which is exactly when we're debating the Cavs series from years ago. But that's exactly what Draymond did. In this situation, once you're corralling a guy's leg, everything that stems from that point, it's got to be on Sabonis. To me, it's like it's just a reaction to something that's non-basketball. I don't know. I didn't like the ejection there. Let me just read a couple. Go ahead, Frank. What were you saying?
Go ahead and read it. No, I'm just saying this. Go ahead.
Mark Hope says, yep, DiVincenzo got effing fried on D. We got James Foster who says it's pretty simple. The Warriors are one of the worst teams on the road in the entire league. They've been bad all year. Has anyone been watching? They're 11-30. You know, that's the other thing. We're sitting here talking about all these things and this and that. Has anything really happened here other than a bad road team has lost 2 games on the road? Now they're going home where they're a dominant home team. Couldn't they just as easily win 2? The question I would have is, do you believe the Warriors can win 1 in Sacramento? And I don't know that that's the case.
Here's the reason why I think that they can.
Okay.
Because the narrative throughout the year is when the Warriors lose on the road, at some point they let go the rope. And all of a sudden they get blitzed. And there's no chance of them even coming back in the fourth quarter, with the exception of the Washington Wizards game. I can't recall a game in which they really fought back and actually won. Maybe the game in Utah when they ultimately lost anyway. But they played pretty good defense. They actually held Sacramento under their season average tonight. When I look at this game, I think it really came down to turnovers. I think that mentally they were ready to play defense, and defense is going to win this series for the Warriors if they are ultimately successful. With regards to Draymond, you know what? Hey, man, no one likes what DeMontis did. He didn't even answer the question at the end of the game when they asked him about it. I didn't like that.
Good call.
Now, Draymond's reputation preceded him, and Draymond act like he was stomping out like a campfire or something. I think he could have went into his histrionics and said, "Hey, what's going on?" And he would have got the free throw and the ball. But I think he put a little hot sauce on it. You put a little mustard on that pass, if you will, Latrell. Put a little mustard on it. So that hurt him tonight. So I'm actually optimistic about Thursday, and I'm going to tell you why. Coaches are conditioned to play one game at a time. They're not looking at, well, we got to win 4. No, you don't. You got to win one game. And I think that the Warriors can win one game if they shore up these problem areas that they had. Sacramento shot 7 for 35 tonight. Why? Because the Warriors were contesting shots.
Yeah.
They had some slippage in the third quarter where they let Fox dribble into the lane. He has a great little mid-range shot. Pick the guy up at the free throw line. He doesn't make that shot. So it was a weird game early on, but I am not convinced that this is over. I'm looking forward to Thursday, and I expect the Warriors to come out and play a pretty good basketball game.
I like it, Frank, because I'm right there with you. I think the Warriors are winning these next 2 games at home. And I think they're gonna win this series still. All right. Now, am I feeling as confident as before the series kicked off? No, I'm not. But I think the Warriors are gonna take care of business. And fellas, like I said earlier, the series doesn't start until a team wins a game on the road, and it hasn't happened yet. And let's look at these 2 games. Okay, the Warriors have been in it. They were a 3-pointer away from Wiggins, an open 3-point shot of competing in that one. Tonight's game where it felt like the Kings were in control for the vast majority of this game, but the Warriors were still in it. They tied it late in the fourth quarter. Like, they've been hanging around. It's not like the Kings have just been knocking them out and putting them to sleep. So I still have some optimism going forward. And fellas, I'm going to get out of here, but before, I'm definitely going to plug.
Right when I get here, man, you're out?
Yeah, I got an early one tomorrow, so I got to.
Well, I'm joining you Tuesday, right?
Is it going down tomorrow or next Tuesday?
I thought it was tomorrow. I meant. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Tomorrow.
Sorry, it's Monday today, right?
Yeah. That's what I was gonna plug. I got Cyrus of Lockdown coming on my channel, Bay Area Baller 18. So check it out tomorrow. It'll be 8 p.m. tomorrow night. So we'll be talking Warriors. We might mix in a little Niners, but more ball to
I'll talk Niners with you too, man. I'll happily talk Niners with you, dude.
Why don't we tell everybody, Baller, tell people how they can go find your YouTube channel. We got 500 plus people in the chat right now who are chopping this thing up, listening to us chop it up, watching it. You guys all need to join Baller's channel. Baller, tell them how to join.
Yeah, well, if you can take off this light the beam super chat, and then my YouTube name will pop up here.
Hold on a
That
second. Hold
way
on. Let
these
me get it.
Fluff.
these folks-
Hold on. Hold
But I
on.
got
Hold
Big
on.
Cy coming on tomorrow. I'm
Bang
pumped
Bang
up.
Niner
I got
Gang
some
says light the beam. Thank you,
hard-hitting
Bang Bang.
questions.
F the
There you
beam.
go.
For Cy.
Bay Area
It's right
Baller
here.
18.
Check out the channel. We're talking all Bay Area sports, Warriors, Niners. We're mixing in some Giants too, Lair. I'm noticing, hey, man, this chat loves their Giants talk too.
Jorge
So-
Soler, 3-run bomb, or
Ball.
2-run bomb, I should say.
Baller,
win?
get
No, they
your
lost.
reservation plans. I would be more than happy to buy you and your lovely wife a dinner, a nice dinner in San Francisco, if they put Anthony Lamb in the game. All right.
I wasn't going to mention it. Cy, I threw out there that one of the rotation tweaks I wasn't going to say you're going to get Cy's
don't
blood
care.
boiling here.
I
One
don't
of the
care. No, it's not.
rotation tweaks I could potentially see, you got to make some adjustments. Kerr might go back to his old faithful Anthony Lamb. We might see
If it
a
works,
quick
I'm
Anthony
happy with
Lamb
it.
spurt. And if it works out well, some more minutes. If he sucks into 3 or 4 minutes, like Kuminga did tonight, well, guess what, Lamb? You're going back on the pine. But I'm all about kind of tweaking it and making some adjustments. But hey, the chat was live. Thanks for stopping by. Check out my channel. I'm talking to this guy Cy tomorrow. And fellas, I love it. Hey, we can be worried, but this series is not over.
Thursday night, Baller. Thursday night. You back Thursday night?
I plan on being here talking some more ball. Yeah.
Peace, brother. Have a good one. Baller in the house. Bay Area Baller 18.
I like Z11. Flick the bean. That's what I'm talking about.
We got this one
bean.
from Mark Hope. He says, HB appreciation, my guy. My goodness, man. Barnes has been absolutely nails. 808 Niner says, Loon too slow on the 1-5 pick and roll.
Yeah.
Jordan Poole sucks. I think that's the clinical term. Klay just a role player, and Wiggs needs to guard Monk and GP2 on Fox. If they keep taking bad shots and being sloppy with the ball, they gonna get swept. 808 Niner got his money's worth. He broke that thing down.
Yes,
And he saved characters and the whole deal. 808 Niner, thank you, brother.
That was,
what do you think?
Honestly, that was brilliant. That's exactly what I was
We'll put it up there one more time. Which of those points do you like the best? Which is the most salient point? Loon was too slow on the 1-5.
I don't think
Poole's garbage. Clay's a role player. Wiggs, his defensive assignments, the bad shots, the turnovers.
The Looney thing I actually don't agree with. Looney played 22 minutes because he got in foul trouble, but you need his size. I mean, and he's not a detriment for the team. Every time he's out there, like his plus minus tonight, even though he's a -3, that was good when you compare it to a lot of the players. You have to have Looney because he's one of the only players out there that gives you size and grabs rebounds. But the Klay Thompson thing is very serious. I brought that up. Even though the box score will not show it tonight. I mean, I know he had a great fourth quarter. He kept the Warriors in the game late, but he didn't do jack shit for the first 3 quarters. And he just, I mean, like when you're watching that game, when you're applying the eye test, he does not look like a superstar player. He doesn't look like a player earning over $40 million a year. That's concerning. That's like of all the players that I'm looking at going, shit, like that is not the same guy anymore. Klay's the one that comes to mind the most. And I don't know if you can fix that. You know, it just sucks, dude. But the Poole thing real quick.
Father Time. What do they say about Father Time, right? Undefeated.
Exactly. But the Jordan Poole thing, he had an awful game tonight. He had a good game in game 1. He had an awful game tonight, but he also had that ankle injury. He rolled the ankle in game 1. He was questionable on the injury report all the way up to game time. And you saw that. He was not moving his normal self. And that's why I think he only played 15 minutes. And he was only 1 for 7 from the field, 0 for 3 from deep. He was awful.
But it's weird. It doesn't, beyond the ineffectiveness, he doesn't look like he knows what they want him to do. It looks like he's a guy who they picked up off a different team 5 days ago, and he's running around and he doesn't know the plays and he's not really sure. I mean, this guy's been playing on this team for years and he looks like he just showed up.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what bothers me. It's not that he's not quite as quick. He's not quite as explosive. He doesn't look like he has a purpose. I don't see what he does. I mean, if the guy doesn't score, he's useless. useless.
And it
He
just looks
doesn't
like-
do anything. He doesn't guard anybody. He doesn't rebound. He doesn't make anybody better. I would rather flip him for a couple of useful role players than go forward with him. I mean, it's like the greatest moment of his career was when that 25 game stretch he had when Steph was out. And it's like, how can you give a guy the kind of cake that you gave that guy when he never did it with your primary player?
Makes you wonder who leaked that video, right? Makes you wonder who leaked that video, because one person really profited off that leak. Because Poole's not getting that bag if that video is not leaked out. Like
he's not that big of a bag.
Not that big of a bag.
No way. His lack of awareness to me, it's like me getting my teeth pulled with no Novocaine.
Ouch.
I mean, it hurts. It hurts. Because know why? Because he's good. This dude is talented.
He is. I agree.
He's a talented player. For him to make those type of mindless plays that he makes and then complain to the referee, everything about me just says, yo, dude, you are distancing yourself from your teammates. These are champions. They know that they're at the end of their road. They exhibit confidence, but you think that they don't understand that they need the young guys, Jordan Poole, to step up and be your best self? They know this. And Jordan acts like, oh, what's going on? We saw Russell Westbrook go 3 for 19 and make all of the nuanced, intangible plays to help them win the game.
Yep. What a game, by the way.
Jordan Poole makes none of those plays. He makes 0 of those plays. So it's just frustrating to me because there's no public announcement, a level of accountability from him. I don't like injuries. You know what I'm saying? Don't talk about injuries. No. I don't mean you. I mean fans. I mean anybody. Because I'm a player. Because listen, if you're on the court side, go play, man. Go play.
I don't think he should have played. I think that's one of many mistakes Kerr made was putting him out there tonight. And I'll tell you why, Frank. Because he played 15 minutes. Those 15 minutes you could have given Gary Payne the second 5 more minutes, right? GP2 is one of the few players out there who's impactful. Even offensively, he's doing great. He was 2 for 3.
He had a great game. He had a great game. So he played 26 minutes, 48 seconds. He could have played 32. And then you could have given him those other 10 minutes to Kuminga. What I don't understand, like Mike Brown is playing a rookie in Keegan Murray. He's playing a second-year player in Davion Mitchell, 28 minutes, by the way. And they're kicking the Warriors' ass. Steve Kerr is like afraid to death of play. Like you could tell it's almost like pulling teeth without Novocaine when he puts Moses Moody in there, right? You almost feel like he's doing it just out of just because he's run out of options or because he knows that's the right thing to do, but he's going to look bad because he hasn't played him all year. Dude, Steve Kerr's just getting out-coached and outclassed in this series, and dude, it's crazy, man. Like, I don't understand the Kuminga thing. Like, I've said this stat repeatedly, and I'll keep saying it time and time and again. When Kuminga plays 25-plus minutes, the Warriors win over 70% of their games. When Kuminga plays 20 or less minutes, they lose over 70% of their games. Guess what's happened in games 1 and 2? He played, 12 minutes, 13 minutes in game 1?
But what would you say to because JD's going to pop in here in 5 minutes and be like, dude, you're high. Kuminga was cooked. Kuminga, the moment's too big for him. JD's of the belief that they shouldn't play Kuminga at all. Personally, I wanted to see the Warriors make a subtle but huge adjustment to the Kings' whole defensive game plan by putting Green at the top of the key and playing him with DiVincenzo, Kuminga, Wiggins, Poole on the wings, and let those guys, go with the fast lineup, go with Draymond at the 5, go with all the guards, and then if they want to extend their defense, throw it to Draymond in the middle, and then everybody cut to the hole and let's make it happen. I mean, let's break them down. Instead, what's happening is there's all this action around the 3-point line with guys trying to set screens. And then Klay and Steph and these guys winging it around the perimeter, and they're turning it over, and they're being pressured, and they're playing recklessly, and they're never breaking down the Kings. When a team's going to extend that far on you on the 3-point line, gut them like fish.
Yeah.
Gut them. But they're not giving that means throw it to Draymond in the middle of the floor, put tons of pressure, and that pass is wide fucking open. Make that pass and then put the ball in Draymond's hands and let him play make and give him some options of athletic guys going to the hole. Then you can break it all down. We haven't seen that.
Yeah,
what are we seeing? We're seeing Steph and Klay and all these uncomfortable, kind of messy-looking picks around the 3-point line. They're winging it with one-handed passes all around. They're turning it over. It looks wild and reckless. When the shots go down, it's like, whoa, hey, wow. But it's not. There's nothing really solid about it, and they're not attacking the Kings in any way to make the Kings pull out of that game plan.
You're right.
So we're seeing Sacramento, a bad defensive team, suddenly look like the Bulls of the 90s with Scotty and Michael and Harper, because they're just out on the perimeter dominant, and there's no way to get them off of you. I mean, they've got to counter. I mean, come on, Steve, get Draymond in the middle of the floor, get him the ball, and let him break these guys down. Instead, we're seeing sloppy pick and rolls, wild passing, deep threes, shot clock violations, a veteran team with everybody's got jewelry, and they look like it's their first go-round. They're not playing with a lot of poise.
You're right. And like you've been emphasizing this point for a while, that Draymond Green, who used to really take on a point guard role, we haven't seen that much this year. And in the few moments in tonight's game where he was at the top of the key, directing the offense, he was making plays, man. And you saw the Warriors of old that wasn't just relying on 3-point shots. You saw the cuts. You saw the extra pass. I'm totally with you. I don't know why they've run away from that mindset of moving the ball and finding the right person for the easiest shot, because I'm seeing a lot of forced threes now. And what I'll say to anyone who complains about Kuminga being not ready for this moment, all I'll say is, how can anyone judge any player in that limited amount of time? 3 minutes and 56 seconds is not a sample size to judge anyone. I guarantee Stephen Curry has started games where he's played awful in 3 minutes and 56 seconds, but you play through it and you eventually, get your rhythm and you eventually finish playing a lot better than where you started. Kuminga, the fact that he never gets that leniency, that leash, like, it's frustrating, man. And that's on Kerr, dude. Kerr's just been frustrating me this whole year. This whole season has stunk. There's been a stench over this team this year. It's been obvious to everyone. There's been so many decisions made that have been nonsensical. You sense the divide between the head coach and the front office. I mean, Bob Myers is calling Kerr out publicly at press conferences. This whole season has just been weird. And that's a huge reason why I'm discouraged. It's like, this doesn't have the feel of a team that's going to win a title. This has the feel of a team that's just like going through the motions and just wants the season to end. I know they're not going to say that in press conferences, but what I'm seeing on the court is not world championship basketball, and it's a disappointment.
Well, and there's no consistent theme here. I mean, this reminds me a little bit, going back to, if you say, give me a comparison, it reminds me of watching Giants baseball in '87. Why? Because that year the Giants had Mike Aldretti, who was just a try-hard guy. And they had Chili Davis. Chili Davis was a much better player.
He was awesome.
But Chili had a bad regular season, and they just kept playing. Roger Craig kept playing Mike Aldretti. Every day it was Mike Aldretti. Then when they got to the playoffs, there was no more Mike Aldretti. It was all time back to Chili. And Chili didn't necessarily play all that great, but, he was the better guy. I kind of get the feeling that we're kind of there all year long. Ty Jerome, Anthony Lamb, Jerome, Anthony Lamb. Now here we are in the playoffs. Those guys are nowhere to be found, not in the rotation, not playing at all. And guess what? You didn't develop Moody or Kuminga, and now you still have two relatively raw, unsure players who didn't get the minutes that they should have fucking gotten all season long. And now, guess what? They don't quite look right in the playoffs. So what's your net gain? Your net gain is 0. You're getting 0 out of Lamb, 0 out of Jerome, 0 out of Moody, 0 out of Kuminga, 0 out of Wiseman, who's now in Detroit. You know what I'm saying? It's like there were a lot of options there, and they just didn't play their hand particularly well. So I like Steve. I think he's smart. I think he's a great coach. He's obviously the U.S. Olympic team coach. But, two things can be equally true. You could be a Hall of Fame coach, and you could stumble on your dick all year long, and that's what this guy did. Now, the Recovery 716 says Poole was a cartoon tonight, probably his worst game. We'll bounce back. Love the show.
He was hurt. I mean, Klay Thompson in the post-game press conference also, I just saw this now. He's quoted as saying that Jordan Poole was playing on, quote, half a foot, unquote. I mean, he should not have been playing. He looked hurt. It was obvious to anyone who's watching closely, I thought. That was just one of many mistakes by Kerr, man. You should have given those minutes to Gary Payne II and Jonathan Kuminga, in my humble opinion. I also think he's giving like Andrew Wiggins. This is a guy who hasn't played in like nearly 3 months. The last time we saw him was before the All-Star break. He comes back after 3 months, and now you're playing him like star. He played 39 minutes tonight. I know there were good minutes for the most part, except for the 3-point shooting. He was 2 for 8. But, I mean, why not ease him into things a little more? I mean, the Warriors had game 1. All Wiggins had to do at the end there was just drive to the basket. They were down by 1. They weren't down by 2. I still don't understand what was going on there, but yeah, that's another thing that's just not making sense. Kerr is just very and Frank and Larry, you both know this. Like, Kerr is very fixated on certain players. Like, he trusts certain players immensely. They're his comfort, they're his comfy blankie, and that's who he loves. Kuminga is not a comfy blankie for Steve Kerr. Andrew Wiggins clearly is, but unfortunately, like, you got to be open-minded, man. You got to be there's got to be some ingenuity to your decisions and to the minute distribution. I'm not seeing any of that. I'm already I'm already starting to think about next year, because I'm going to start a campaign soon for Brent Berry for head coach. It's going to be my mantra. If this season ends the way it's looking.
T-shirts. You have T-shirts and bumper stickers. I mean,
I will. Yeah.
How's the campaign?
Let's get Brent.
Go ahead, Frank. What were you going to say?
No, I'm saying that's been a familiar theme, and I'm going to say this. I've been a head coach multiple times at the high school level, and with your staff, your right hand, like your top assistant, you have to empower that coach to make decisions. Otherwise, he or she has no power or no authority with the rest of the team. So my top assistant, if he said, "Coach, put such and such in," I put him in. If I had any reservations, I still put him in, because that empowered me. And it let that player know, you know what? I got to be on my game, because coach is putting his backside on the line. I don't get that with Kerr. I don't think that he has like a Mike Brown. I don't know if Mike's authority was isolated with defense last year, but maybe he had some other influence. But you got to do that. And I don't think Steve does that. Otherwise, he would make some of those changes like tonight. You know what? Kuminga really wasn't ready, and he kind of fell apart the first half, but you got to put him in the second half.
Yeah.
You have to. Otherwise, you lose him. And all young guys, this is part of Jordan Poole's challenge. They're not comfortable taking accountability. So they don't take that responsibility as wholly as they should when they screw up. So you got to give them a little sugar. And Kerr he's not like that. He gets fixated. Some people call it stubborn. Whatever it is, he has to be more open-minded with regards to who's playing on the court, and he doesn't do that.
This sack crowd is really like mouthy, huh? Like, we haven't heard from them in 17 years, and boy, are they like, man, they got their opinions.
They're into it, man. They're into it. I will say this though: be careful, Sack fans, because you're in dangerous territory right now. You're up 2-0. And you're feeling good. It's kind of like being in the bar and you have 4 or 5 drinks and you get some liquid courage and you're talking shit to a guy who's going to drop you like a 3-piece spicy. You know what I mean? You're going to go down and you're not going to feel it. It's you know what I mean? It's like, don't be talking a lot of mess because the reality is they Sacramento could easily lose 2 in Golden State.
Easily.
And then the momentum shifts. And then suddenly game 5. And you got to think this. If I was Sacramento, game 3, you better bring it. You better fucking bring it. You better get game 3. You got the Warriors down. You better sweep the leg, as they said in the Karate Kid. You better step on. You better go for the jugular. Or if you let this team up, you know what? You're going to see the Warriors and the Lakers in round 2, and you're going to have a great seat at the sports bar there in Sac, and you're going to perfect that story of what the fuck happened in 2023. So just be very careful. Just right now, as you're talking a lot of mess, thinking right now, right now it looks like the Warriors have no shot, and I don't think they got a great shot. And I've already stated before you got on here, I don't think Golden State's going to get off the deck. But be fucking careful, Sac fans, because I could predict this. Now, Michael Wilbon actually predicted this going into the series. He said the Kings are going to win games 1 and 2 at home. The Warriors are going to win game 3 and 4 at home. The Kings are going to win game 5 at home. The Warriors are going to win game 6 at home. And then he said, and the Warriors are going to win game 7 in Sacramento. And if I'm Sacramento, knowing what the league wants, come on, man. If this thing goes to 7, be honest, Kings fans, you're pissing your pants. You're going to show up to Game 7 with depends, because you're not going to be able to make it through. Go ahead, Frank. What do you got?
No, I'm saying this is a visual ATM machine. Do you think that Adam Silver doesn't want this to go at least 6 or 7 games? Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
The ratings are off the chat. Think about it. What do you got? 500 people in the chat?
And you're going to see all the success from the bench that the Kings have enjoyed. You're not going to see that as much. And all the struggles from the Warriors in the bench, that's going to reverse, because bench and role players feed off that home crowd. It makes a huge difference. I am fascinated. My bigger concern is this, and let me know if you think I'm wrong. It's not so much that I'm worried about this series being it and that the Warriors are going to lose the series. I think they could still easily win this series. But the way they've played in games 1 and 2, unless they start making some serious adjustments that are, again, shows me ingenuity, I don't know if they're going to make it through 4 rounds of this. Like, I don't know if they can. That's where I feel like it might be over. Is that even if they beat the Kings, and again, I still think they can, man. But I don't know if they can beat Denver. Like, Denver looks really good. I don't know if they can beat Boston. They're
not beating Denver. They're not beating Denver.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a part where I'm looking at going, yeah, that maybe this thing is over in that regard. But I hope I'm wrong. That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah, I don't think the Warriors are beating Denver. To me, it really comes down to, and this is a universal, this is not about basketball. This is not about the Warriors. This is about personnel. And I think I know a little something about this. You win when you have the biggest number of guys in the prime of their career. You don't win when you're too young. You don't win when you're too old. You win when your guys are in their prime. Look at Denver's 9-man rotation. There's like every single guy is like 27, like right in their prime. This is their year in the West. And if it's not their year, it might be Sacramento's year. But I don't think it's Golden State's year.
I mean, Lakers.
I think the Lakers are a little too old too. I think the Lakers are a little too old. I think the Warriors would have been fine if at the beginning of the year what we were hoping for had come to fruition. If James Wiseman had progressed, if Kuminga had progressed, if Moody had grown, if you had seen those guys in the rotation. Golden State is keeping it rolling like the Spurs kept it rolling, during the Duncan years. And it's like, you know what? They would have enough. But in reality, what happened is Wiseman was a 0, got traded. Kerr's lost confidence in him. I think Frank kind of described it perfectly. And then Moody has he was respectful his first year, and now it's just like he can't get any run. And then, to me, one of the biggest sequences of this game, I thought, was the beginning of the third quarter. I mean, it was the end of the second, beginning of the third. The end of the second, Golden State should have been within a bucket. Instead, they were down 6. And then the third quarter starts. Green gets a couple of quick fouls. He goes back to the bench. Moody comes in. Moody gets a couple of quick fouls. And we're sitting at the 10-18 mark of the third quarter with the Kings in the bonus. That's where this thing got away. That's where the pressure started to really mount. But ultimately, I think the biggest one is that Sacramento's a shitty defensive team that looks great defensively because they've made this adjustment and the Warriors have not adjusted back. So here's the question. Can Golden State make the adjustments? Because Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, if you crowd them 25 feet from the bucket and they still try to shoot threes and set screens and operate out there instead of gutting you down the middle of your defense, you've beaten them. You've beaten them. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter if they hit a couple amazing threes. It doesn't matter if they play that game. You challenge their threes and they keep shooting threes instead of gutting you down the middle of your defense. You've done what you've came to do, and I credit Mike Brown for the game plan, but I blame Steve Kerr for the lack of an adjustment to that game plan. Is Mr. NorCal right? By the way, is there a chance that Green gets suspended?
I don't think so.
You don't think? I think there's a chance, but I don't think it's going to happen. Look, the way the NBA, you can't rule out anything. I feel like these days. I mean, the NBA is so kooky when it comes to suspensions, and I do feel the Warriors have been getting the short end of the stick. I know I'm biased in that regard, but like there's so much I know Frank, for example, on Twitter, I think you asked for visual evidence. I'm seeing it. I'll retweet a few things. There was like one 3-point attempt by Stephen Curry where Alex Len was directly under him, super dangerous, and the refs were right there and just said, nah, it's clean, it's all good. But then the moment it comes to these ticky-tack calls, I mean, the Kings go to the line for such BS, man. But hopefully the refs will also be more favorable toward the Warriors at Chase Center because that is also part of home court advantage as well. But, yeah.
Let me respond to you. The reason why I said that on Twitter is because I follow you.
And it's not a big deal. I'm not complaining.
No, I know. But you have a ton of followers.
No, I don't. Larry does.
No. You got quite a few followers. Now, here's the deal. People that understand the game, they know what you're talking about. But people who respond to you like that person did that I read, it's like they don't know that. You know what I'm saying? So you said I got plenty stats, and you do. I get it. But that person, the way that person responded, is like, what are you talking about, Cy? And I'm like, don't you know that? Now, here's the deal. When the Warriors played Boston in the championship last year, Boston did a lot of things that Sacramento is doing now. Reluctantly, Steve Nash went to the vaulted Mark Jackson offense and ran a lot of high pick and roll, and Steph got to the basket and the roller got some layups. I think you might consider that on Friday, on Thursday, because what they're doing right now is just sitting in Looney's lap. Now, if Looney's not the guy, if it's going to be Draymond, I agree. He's the offense initiator, and good things should happen. But whenever Looney is in that position where they're throwing the ball over the top, they're not converging on him. They're waiting to see what he can do with the basketball. Sometimes he make a good play. Sometimes he doesn't. So I would like to see some high pick and roll, because Steph was most effective tonight when he got to the basket.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, Steph, and same with Wiggins.
Yes.
I mean, I'll tell you, that's so. Watching Wiggins attack the bucket and the way he makes it look so fucking easy makes me frustrated that he went 1 for 7 from 3 in game 1. Put it on the deck. You're 6'8", and you've got 2-guard handle, and you can finish at the rim. That one where he took it and he just brought it in almost like James Worthy, big game right. James. I mean, my goodness, do that 5 times a game. I mean, it's if I could beat a guy off the dribble and get to the lane and get open looks at 6'8", the way he can drive to the lane. Somebody can be all over him. and he can still either rise up or kind of contort his body so that he gets like a totally open, clean look. I'm taking that every time over a contested three or a three with a hand nearby. I mean, I'd rather see, the Warriors have very few guys who can go to the hole. Poole and Wiggins are two of them, and yet they both are in love with their three-point shot. Why? And then the other thing, I'd love to see them. I hate seeing Fox take pull-up Jays in the mid-range because he's so good at creating the space. But, dude, he's a 32% three-point shooter.
Exactly. You got to
let him shoot the threes.
And they did tonight.
Yeah. Let him shoot the threes, but just Hawk be all over him on the twos. And I think it bothers him with some increased size. But they got to figure out a way to get Kuminga back on the floor and feeling good. They're not going to be able to do this. They're not going to be able to do this by just, telling some of these guys you're persona non grata. It's not going to happen. You can't turn away your bench just because they have a bad sequence for a couple of minutes. I really didn't like Kerr's handling of Kuminga in tonight's game.
I mean, with you.
Steve, it's a long series. What do you think you're getting out of him the rest of the series by the way you handled him tonight?
And Rebel to Sounds brings up another player I wanted to talk about, which is Dante DiVincenzo. He played awful. I mean, he hasn't done it. He's been just completely a persona non grata this whole series. And tonight, I mean, this is a guy that oftentimes in the regular season was giving you 30, 35 nights a night. He started game one, and in game two, he played 12 minutes, did not even have a field goal attempt. I don't understand what's going on there. This is a player that the Warriors were counting on. He was basically the replacement for Otto Porter Jr. Because like one thing I like Kylan and I do a lot, for example, is look at last year's team, which won a title, and then look at this year's team with the roster changes that the front office did. And, ask yourself, okay, what did they lose? What did they get back? And the players that were really important last year that they lost, Otto Porter Jr., Nemanja Bjelica, who are you replacing those two guys with? The Otto Porter role, Kuminga could do that if you actually give him minutes. They have the same body type, but realistically, it's Dante DiVincenzo is the one who kind of took that role over in terms of minutes and impact and role. So if DiVincenzo's playing like this, man, I think the Warriors are really in trouble because they're counting on him big time. Kev brings up Iguodala, but dude, I don't know if Iguodala is going to get back anytime soon. It's weird that the Warriors are counting on that. They are. Just side note, the Warriors are counting on Andre Iguodala to come back in the postseason. It's crazy, man. Yeah, DiVincenzo's just vanishing act is not cool. They need him, plain and simple.
I mean, he plays well at home too. So I'm looking forward to him having a good game. But I think what's happening is it was kind of cute early on, him playing small forward. He's not big enough, man. He's being overwhelmed by larger, more talented players. I mean, Harrison Barnes is playing his ass off. He really is.
He looks great.
He looks great. So I think maybe a more subdued role for Dante in the backcourt because they got to get him on the floor because Steph is tired. Klay is tired at times. And GP2 in the role that he played tonight, I'm excited. I thought he played really well.
Same.
I thought he mattered defensively. So, I mean, literally, think about this. Our conversation would be so much different if Wiggins went to the basket or made a driveway three.
Yeah,
he missed a wide open shot. So to me, it's like, yo, man, again, if Zach had buried the Warriors tonight and not had a good whistle, I totally agree. The offense that they're running now, hanging on the perimeter with these excellent athletic players, is not going to work. You got to put body on body and get to the basket. Don't turn it over and get cash for all of these scoring opportunities and then play solid defense. I mean, hoisting threes and thinking you're going to beat them that way, you're not going to do it.
Not going to happen.
And they have no answer from Malik Monk. This is the second game in a row. I mean, Draymond literally called out Malik Monk after game one. I didn't see
what a great player. What a great player he is.
Yeah, great pickup.
What did they move to get him?
It was a
Nothing.
free agent acquisition.
Just signed him. Just signed him.
Yeah, 2 years, 18 million. I think it was a great deal. They scored, and Harrison Barnes, by the way, he's outplaying Draymond in this series. Like you're seeing him get rebounds over him. You're seeing him dunk over him. There is animosity between those two players. In case people aren't familiar,
why is that? Is because Draymond was part of the pursuit of KD? Is that why? And Barnes thinks he was disloyal.
Harrison Barnes won't talk about it publicly. What Draymond Green said is that he thinks the reason that Harrison Barnes didn't invite Draymond to his wedding, whereas he did invite Steph and Klay, is because in Draymond's mind, he thinks Harrison blames him for the recruitment of Kevin Durant, which resulted in Harrison Barnes. I think, was it a sign-in trade? Is that how they got rid of him ultimately? I can't remember how. He went to Dallas.
He went to Dallas.
It was a sign-in trade. Yes.
Yeah. So that's the reason.
I mean, Harrison's got to take a little responsibility for his horrendous playoff performance leading into that.
Yeah.
He made it real easy to choose. It was going to be a tough call until he just evaporated in the playoffs. That being said, I've had the man they call the Black Falcon or the Senator. I've had him in studio with his little sister when I was on with Gary back in the day when he was just drafted. Yeah. And I love Harrison, man. Harrison follows me on Twitter. I follow him on Twitter.
Nice.
And he's just a good dude. I've always liked him. This guy every year takes a group of teenagers on like a Christmas, disadvantaged teenagers on like a Christmas shopping spree and foots the bill. And, man, that kind of stuff goes a great distance with me. I just think that, he understands who he is, where he is, how fortunate he is. He's just a really good person. And it's too bad that he's not a lifelong Warrior because he is a great person. He's right there with Steph and Klay and Draymond and Andre as far as people. Harrison Barnes is a great guy. Roberto Davis says, Krug, you still think Dubs in 6? No, I don't.
Well, I've been the one who predicted Dubs in 6. So you think 7 now? Is that what your new call?
I mean, I could see the Dubs winning in 7, but I also could see the Kings winning in 5. So I mean, it wouldn't surprise. Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if Sacramento got one in San Francisco and finished it out in 5. Let's not ignore what we're seeing here.
Yeah.
Sacramento looks younger. They look better. They look faster. They had a better record. They're fresher. They're fueled by enthusiasm and joy and newness. And the Warriors are laboring and dragging and pulling themselves through and infighting from the beginning of the year. And guys are worried about are seeing their basketball mortality for the first time. And there's just a lot of emotional baggage that I think Golden State as a team have collectively. I'm Bob Dole says all it takes is one game to stop it. It's true.
Bob Dole held the pen, right, when he spoke because he had some issue with his hand, right?
He was a war veteran. He had some injury.
Always had the pen.
Let's go to the Star chat because 95.7 Brian wants to weigh in on a bunch of things here. Let me run down a few of these.
Yeah.
We got Green Glass Full says KJ was a horrific mayor.
Was he? Oh.
Well, I don't know. There were some controversies. There were some controversies about a young lady in the.
Okay.
There was something attached to that. Something about some inappropriate whatever. Tammy McDaniel says Warriors are in trouble. Digital Drew. Kerr pulled Kuminga too quick. Got to get the kid minutes and used to those environments. And the Dubs need to make the athleticism, probably meet the athleticism of the Kings. Digital Drew also says Kerr. Oh, yeah, that's the same one. Randy Daytona, great name. He says, told you, start your post-game show at halftime, Larry. Bomber T, time to rebuild, in my opinion. The Kings are fast, young legs.
Not a rebuild, a transition. I would call it because Steph's not going anywhere, right? If you want to talk about the future, you still got Klay for another year. My guess is if the Warriors get bounced anytime soon, Draymond's gone. We've seen the last of him. But you got Kuminga.
That's unfortunate. In my mind, that's unfortunate.
They won't pay him, right? Wouldn't you agree with that? I mean, he's going to exercise.
No, I pay him. I pay him. He should be. To me, I'm going to the finish line with Steph and with Draymond. I don't know if I'm not going to the finish line with Klay.
I'm just taking into account ownership and they obviously care about what they spend their money on, and they've shown that.
Trade Poole. I'd trade Poole.
If you can.
Yeah, I'd trade Poole.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I put something on Twitter today, and I'm sure people are laughing at me. I said, yeah, send him to Brooklyn for Cam Johnson. Good luck with that. You know what I'm saying?
I love Cam Johnson. You talking about the LSU kid who can fill it up?
No. Cam to North Carolina.
Cam Johnson, the North Carolina guy.
Oh, yeah.
Who's with the Nets right now,
but
right?
he doesn't make that much. The money's got to match.
Yeah, but I mean, you could put some other pieces, or he might be. I mean, they could extend him or something. I mean, make the money work, but get a player like that in return for Jordan Poole. Maybe he can go and start for somebody else. But
I like Cam Johnson. He can fly. I mean, if you had Cam Johnson, you got a ridiculous shooter. I thought you were talking about that kid for Brooklyn. Who was that kid for Brooklyn who played for LSU who's just flat out scorer?
Cam Thomas.
Oh yeah, the point guard. Okay.
Cam Thomas can score.
OG Anunoby, I feel like if the Raptors would listen to that deal, because the salaries would match at that point, I would love an OG Anunoby. I think he would be a great fit. I think in all honesty, I think the Warriors are going to be fine. And they might not be like a championship contender. They might be. A lot of it depends on Kuminga's development. Same with Moses Moody. They got pieces there to keep this team relevant. I mean, that's the good news.
They're not going to fall apart. No. They're just they're just going to be in the mix. They're not going to be leading the mix. AJ says Kerr needs to throw a wrench in the offense. Mike Brown obviously knows how to stop the Warriors offense. Only 18 assists this game. Tammy McDaniel, very succinct. Poole sucks. Vicky Pellich says, hey, that was a pretty good comment. I'll go with Poole as a joke. Shante Ortega says trade Poole in the offseason.
Oh, man.
Do you see a theme here? YouTube user says Dubs looked uninspired.
They did.
Mark Hope says, yup, DiVincenzo got fried on D. Thank you, Mark, for that. Brian says, Krug, Kuminga and Poole can't play much defense. That's the problem. Nicole the Fifth, I like that. Says Larry, serious question. Is this karma because Willard told Logan Webb that the Kings are adorable? I'm a Warriors fan and would not mind people bullying that guy, not Webb, obviously. On that note, it's funny. You mentioned 95.7 The Game, and suddenly people from 95.7 The Game show up.
Nice.
John Dickinson in the house. JD, good to see you. Nicole, JD, can you hear us?
Yeah, what's up, fellas? I got you loud and clear. You got me?
Okay. Yeah, we got you. Nicole says, is it karma because Willard told Logan Webb that the Kings are adorable? Is these first two games really just a lot to do about Mark Willard and nothing really to do about Kerr, Draymond, Steph, the Warriors, or the Kings, that it's really more about Willard and Logan Webb?
I'm going to take the under on that. When you look at the way that these first two games have played out, and I appreciate you all for having me on. Frank, Cyrus,
Pleasure,
great
man.
to see you, Larry, as well. And wow, I mean, what a wild night. A second here in 3 in Sacramento of just, I mean, two of the more intense games that I can remember in the last decade of covering Warrior championship runs, and highly unusual to see the Warriors in this position. Obviously, it's never happened before with them down 0-2 and looking a little frustrated and looking a little overmatched at times. I mean, when have the Warriors ever truly looked overmatched in a series? I know the games have been close, but for extended periods in both games, the Kings have just looked like the younger, quicker, more forceful, and I'll say it, better team.
Mm-hmm. In 2016,
go ahead, Si.
In 2016, I feel like I got that same feeling when the Warriors were playing the Thunder. I remember I went to a couple of those games, and they were down 3-1 in that series, and they looked overmatched. Like, I'm still shocked they came back and won that series, in all honesty. But these are also two very different teams between that team and this one. Yeah. Anyways.
JD, there's a bunch of things. There's a bunch of factors here. We've hit on a bunch. And I'm kind of wondering, you just did the post-game show on the flagship station for the Warriors. What would you say? Give us a taste of what the callers were saying. Give us a taste of were there any common denominators in the reaction to this loss? Give us a vibe of what the hardcore Warrior fan that joined you just minutes ago on 95.7 were saying about this game.
It's frustration for sure. It's worry. I think that there's a sense now that this series could be lost, which I don't think anybody really would have believed a week ago when the matchup was set. I think it's confounding or confusing the fact that the Warriors keep shooting themselves in the foot in this series at the level that they have, and almost an inability, I think, from some Warrior fans to accept the fact that the Kings are making them do some of this. Like some of it is complete carelessness and on the Warriors, and they got to be better. And it's the same stuff we've talked about, and you guys have talked about every single night on your various platforms. And yet here it is again, an extension of the regular season when the playoffs are supposed to be different. So I think that's the overarching theme. It's also, what move does Kerr have left in his bag? That was sort of my question of the night. It's not a flip of the switch. We talked about that the other night. I mean, you got to play better. You got to play more buttoned up. You got to play more efficient. There've been too many stretches in the series, guys, where if the Warriors are playing well defensively, they're not playing well enough offensively. And then they get the offense going a little bit, and the Kings get the offense going a little bit in those same moments. So there had been this inability for the game to be connected. And every single time in this series, it looks like the Warriors are going to get some semblance of control. It's turnover, bad shot, lazy foul, momentum-changing play in the Kings' favor, and they're right back down and having to climb right back up the mountain again. And I think what we're finding is it's getting harder and harder. They keep doing it, but at some point there's a breaking point, I think, and they're hoping home cooking is going to allow them to get more from maybe some of the young players who haven't been able to perform. I know Klay Thompson in the postgame press conference said that Jordan Poole, I guess this ankle thing is really, really bad. He's playing on one foot is what
you could
Klay
tell,
said.
right, JD? You noticed it too, didn't you? I mean, he looked awful out there. Like he could barely move.
He was awful
to me anyway.
He was awful, and I think 15 minutes tells the story tonight. I mean, Dante DiVincenzo I thought was pretty good in game one. He didn't even take a shot tonight. I think that's I mean, let's just put it on the table. The Warriors right now, and Frank and Larry, you guys heard me say this the other night, playoff series come down to playable players. Who can the coach trust to play? And the Warriors are the older team and the more experienced team, and they have fewer playable players than the Kings do right now. And you see Mike Brown, he goes to Alex Len. Alex Len gives him something. Like the guys that aren't playing well aren't killing him, maybe other than Keegan Murray, but he's able to go away from Keegan Murray and have enough players that are able to play. The Warriors right now have Curry, Klay, Draymond, who ended up getting the boot, Wiggins, and GP. That's it. DiVincenzo wasn't a factor tonight. Jordan Poole was banged up and terrible, or terrible and banged up, whichever one you want to go first. Kuminga has given them nothing in this series, and I told you guys the other night I wouldn't have played Kuminga at all.
Why?
Because he's been terrible. They hunted him tonight.
What do you base that on, though? I mean, he played 3 minutes and 56 seconds. What do you base that on?
And he was a -10, and he was a -10, and he didn't rotate back to a 3 on Herter. He let Fox get by him initially. He doesn't rebound. He's terrible right now. I think he's been the Warriors' worst player in this series for the limited amount of time that he's played. Like, I get it. People, Kuminga, they're tantalized by the athleticism. They think he can be more of a factor than he can. He can't create a shot for himself. Mike Brown's going to dare him to shoot the 3 ball. He's not making hustle. He can't guard Fox. He can't, he's unfreaking playable. And I said it today on the radio. I said it to you guys on Saturday night. Like, I don't get the fixation on Jonathan Kuminga. The guy makes 2 or 3 good plays in a game. Everybody acts like he's a budding superstar. And then he makes 4 or 5 bad plays. He doesn't play. And everybody thinks Steve Kerr's doesn't know what the hell he's doing because Kuminga isn't playing. Like he's a young player. He's a talented prospect. But we're talking about trying to win a playoff series. I wouldn't play him another second in Golden One Center in this series as long as it goes. I will say this: home road, you can't play 6, even if you. So he may get another opportunity. And
whose minutes would you give? Who would you, if you took Kuminga, you didn't play him, you giving those minutes to Moody? Who's getting those minutes?
Moody got an opportunity tonight because of the foul trouble. And he played.
He quickly picked up fouls.
I'd play Moody. He picked up 2 quick fouls quickly. He also got a putback and another layup. I don't trust him to make a 3 to save his life, but to me, he was steady. He didn't kill you. And a guy that doesn't
JD,
kill you.
JD, I gotta jump in, man. What are you basing all of this criticism on? Because Kuminga played 13 minutes in game 1. He plays less than 4 minutes in game 2. How can you judge a player? Because you're judging him. You have strong opinions on him. How can you have that when the sample size is like this much of a total game? And all the measurables support that he's playing great. Yeah. I mean, you look at his shooting efficiency.
What measurables support he's played great? There's measurables that say he should be great in this series. He's been awful in this series.
He hasn't played in this series. Why are you? He hasn't played though. Like, how can you judge?
That's why he hasn't played, Cyrus. He hasn't played because he was awful. Steve Kerr was not going to play him at all tonight. And he was like, you know what? I'm going to give him one more chance. And he was the worst player on the floor in the 4 minutes he was out there. And so Kerr didn't play him the rest of the night. I don't understand why that's so hard to get. Coach Kerr is telling you why he's not playing in this series by not playing him.
I don't worship every word of Steve Kerr like it's fact. Okay, so the only judgment here on Kuminga is what decision Steve Kerr makes. Kuminga shoots 37% from beyond the arc. He shot 52.5% from 3. Steve Kerr 1 minute trusts him to play him 25, 30 minutes over a stretch of a month or two. And then all of a sudden in the playoffs, because he plays bad for 3 minutes, now he's a horrible player. He started him in the postseason last year. Like, what has changed from then to now?
He started him by necessity in the postseason. He started him because Gary Payton II broke his hand. Yeah. And he started him like it wasn't, there wasn't this, hey, Kuminga's going to be the answer. Like, and look,
there were other players. He could have gone to other players. They're very different players, JD. I mean, 168, 163. I mean, you could have played anyone.
You're talking about, who are you talking about? Moody?
Kuminga
versus Moody? 168.
No, you said that Kuminga started games last year because Gary Payton II got
they play
hurt.
The same position, Cyrus. They play the 4 on offense, and Kerr tries to guard him against ones on defense and put him on the ball. And he tries to put Kuminga on the ball because he can't follow the movement of the ball. He gets lost on shooters. He gets lost on cutters. So Kerr says, hey, you're athletic. I'm going to put you on the ball. He put him on Fox tonight, and Fox cooked his ass. And then when he got to move out of position, he lost Herter on a 3, and Herter buried a wide open 3 when he had to rotate because he couldn't get back. Look, this is not an indictment, Cyrus, and I'm coming down your road. And I love the conversation. I do, because you really are, brother, that you are the Warrior fan that has completely overrated this guy right now. It's not I want to make this point.
That's your opinion. That's your opinion. Not a fact.
I'm gonna let you finish, but you're gonna let me finish.
All right.
Okay. This is not an indictment of what his career is going to be. This is an indictment of the player he is right now and how much he can contribute to this team right now. And I'm going to be very clear. He may get an opportunity Thursday and Sunday because they're at home and because they're so shorthanded. And he may very well play better because a lot of times young players and role players play better at home. So but to me, there isn't this leash or this leeway to let Kuminga try to make some things happen. He either gets opportunities in the context of what the Warriors do, and he plays well, like the Dallas game and a bunch of other games toward the end of the season. But when he was doing that, all of those plays were he was cutting. He was taking an open 3 from the corner. He was ripping people on defense and taking it back the other way for dunk. He was doing it in a very simple and efficient way. And if he's not doing that, those are his great games. When he's not doing that, it's hard to play him. And tonight, in these first 2 games of the series, it was even worse. I'm going to step back. I'm going to let you have your say because I've been jumping in on you a couple times here. I'm gonna just chill for a minute.
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead, Frank.
No. I'm gonna say I love this. I love it. and I'm gonna say good night. I gotta get up early tomorrow morning. All right.
Oh, all right. Good night, Frank.
Frank, have a good night, man. We'll talk to you.
Take care.
Maybe Thursday night, Frank.
Oh yeah, holla at me, man. All right.
Sounds good. Frank Red in the house.
Here's the thing. I just don't understand how you can say in 3 minutes 56 seconds like he was awful, so that's how he's going to be the entire game. Like, do you not believe players deserve a shot to actually play through their mistakes? I mean, I'll give you. Not in the playoffs?
Not in game 2 when you're down 0-1 in a hostile environment. Like, that's not learning time. Like, hey, we got to win this game, so I'm going to play some guys I trust.
Okay, so in the regular season, all right, in the month of March, for example, a pivotal month when the Warriors didn't even know if they were making the playoffs, right? He was averaging 24.7 minutes per game. He was scoring 14.2 points per game. He was averaging 4.5 rebounds per game. And on top of that, he was shooting 44.1% from three. He was shooting 59.5% from the field. And here's a stat that I think more people need to know, because I don't think most people are aware of this. When he plays 25 or more minutes per game, the Warriors win over 70% of the time. When he plays 20 minutes or less per game, they lose over 70% of the time. So every measurable you look at indicates he's a good player. The only evidence that shows that he shouldn't play is Kerr said so. Or maybe you feel he's too young.
Do you watch the game? Like, do you actually watch the game and individual plays? Or
I do. And JD, I'm not just a fan watching this stuff, JD.
Pick some numbers from what happened to be the best stretch that he had in the season, and you're using that to say that he should get this long leash in the playoffs when you're in the most hostile environment maybe the Warriors have been in the last decade, to figure it out and help them. Okay, you get it. The key to being able to play in the playoffs is, can you fit your game into the box of the pecking order of the guys who have won championships and the guys who are trusted? He can't fit his game into that box. The answer is not, we'll play him more. If I'm telling you right now, Cyrus, he plays 25 minutes tonight, the Warriors get beat by 20.
You don't know that. That's an assumption.
They get run out of the freaking building.
That's an assumption. You don't know that for fact. And again, he was already a part of a championship team last year. So where did the mistrust come from, where he's playing postseason minutes last year? He was given a leash. He's starting now this year, a year later, when he's a year advanced with experience, when every measurable, every stat shows. I don't have to be a fan, JD. I don't appreciate the dig either, but whatever. You don't have to be a fan to see that every single piece of data shows he's a good player. He's progressing. He's posting some of the greatest numbers a player his age has ever posted. He would be a rookie this year by any standard, but he's that young and he's playing that good. So you're just saying because Kerr doesn't trust him, that's just how it should go. You just believe everything Kerr tells you?
What are you talking about as far as him being one of the best players and all rookie and this kind? Like, where are you digging this up from?
From the stats. Again, he averaged.
It's not rooted in any fact. You're like,
I just gave you. He shot 52.5% from the field this year for the year, the whole year. As a 20-year-old, he's younger than most rookies. Yes, he's actually excelling. He actually routinely is setting marks.
He can't handle the ball. He can't score on his own
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. He actually has a fantastic left. He actually can attack the rim. And again,
he can attack the rim if it's wide open and nobody's guarding him.
I don't agree with that, man. He actually has a great post game. And again, when he plays, they win. So why do you support the notion that he shouldn't play when the stats show when his minutes are down, that they don't win? So I don't understand why you constantly bash him. I don't get that, man. I think he should play. He's 6'8". They need size.
Let's agree to disagree on this. I can see it both ways. I can see it both ways. I understand there's value in Kuminga. I understand how badly he's looked in these first two games as well. Tonight especially. I mean, it just looked like he was in a fog, and there's not enough time when a guy's in a fog to get him right. But you also got to bring everybody along. Like, the Warriors, in my opinion, aren't going anywhere without the athleticism of Jonathan Kuminga in this series or beyond this series. They're just not deep enough. They're not athletic enough. They don't have enough good players in my mind. But I also saw how badly he looked tonight. He did look like a deer in headlights. He was getting torched. But once again, it's like I kind of blame Steve for not bringing him along by giving him more minutes in the season. I think he would have been further along by now if he had. Let me read a couple super chats, and then I got a couple that I want to throw your guys' way. Vicky Pellich says, give Poole's minutes to Kuminga in Game 3. That's her plan. We've got a bunch of people in here on the bottom that I want to throw in too. Mark Hope says Sabonis played Dre like Dre likes to play guys. 95.7 Brian has had a bunch of stuff in here. Let me throw a few of his in here because he's been in the chat all night, and I've saved him, and then said I'm going to go to him, and then I haven't gone to him. Okay, let me just roll a few of these. Do you know Brian Iglesias, JD?
Yes.
He says, "Hey guys, tough loss for the Warriors tonight. There's a lot of takeaways from Game 2. Kuminga and Poole showed their youth and inexperience tonight. It ultimately cost them the game." Then he goes on to say, Poole and Kuminga combined for 20 minutes and 4 points, both non-factors who played the Warriors out of the game.
Yeah, Kuminga played 3 of those minutes. I don't understand why they're being lumped in together. That makes no sense.
We got this one from Brian Iglesias. He said the Warriors let the Kings back into the game in the
how
first.
does that make sense to lump them in together?
He was awful in the 4 minutes.
3 minutes. Why are you judging him
awful.
for 3 minutes?
I don't.
3 minutes.
He was awful. Like that was
what? Who wasn't awful tonight? Not named Stephen Curry. Who wasn't awful? But you want to poop on
Wiggins
the idea.
wasn't awful.
Who wasn't awful tonight? Besides
Klay
Stephen
wasn't
Curry?
awful. Wiggins wasn't awful.
Okay, 2
Gary
guys.
Payton
You
II
can name
wasn't
Klay.
awful.
You can name Dre. How about
I told you they
DiVincenzo?
have 6 guys they trust right now. That's my point. They have 6 players they
Kerr should
trust. I said that coming
Kuminga.
off.
Kerr should trust Kuminga. I'm seeing in the chat people are saying I'm going off emotion. How am I being emotional when over 70% of the games that Kuminga plays 25 plus minutes,
That's
win?
a nonsense stat. That's a horse bleep stat. To
Why?
Be honest. Like it just
Why?
that's a cherry picked horse
Why?
bleep. Like
Why?
You got to go through all of those games and look at the circumstances as to who was in, who was out, who played, how
So
many.
what is
were
a
at
valid
home.
stat to you?
Like,
How
that's
about-
not like that, there's no freaking way that translates to the playoffs.
He shot for the year. For the year, he averaged 20.8 minutes. He shot 52.5% from the field. He shot 37% from 3. He only averaged 1.4 turnovers per game. Are those not objective stats? He averaged 3.4 rebounds in those 20.8 minutes. And you just said he was guarding De'Aaron Fox. He often does not guard bigger players down low. He's given those GP2 assignments. That costs him rebounds. How is any of that fucking subjective, man? I don't get it.
He's also he's also low motor some of the time, which I think is part of why Steve Kerr is frustrated by him. It's because it's like you've got these tantalizing physical tools, use them. And he I think at times doesn't, or he's indecisive in it. And so it's like, well, I can't trust it. Like they want him in the dunker spot. They want him to play like Gary Payton II. That's exactly how they want him to play. They want him to be in the dunker. They want him to take only corner threes. They want him, if he gets the ball in the short post and can make one little quick move and go up, I'm with you. He has a little bit of game there. I do agree with that. But you can't just give him all of the rope to let that come out in the wash when the Warriors were for about 2.5 quarters on the brink of getting run out of the freaking gym. Like that, like his minutes tonight flipped the game in the negative to a point where Coach Kerr is thinking, and I agree with it. You can say, hey, I'm trusting Kerr, whatever, but to me, it's a matter of Coach Kerr's thought is if I go back to him again in that same spot, we're done. We're done. I can't do it. And so
I don't look. Kerr has had an awful year this year as a coach. I question him big time. I do not think he's a good coach. He's not a great coach. And this has been an abysmal year for Steve Kerr. And one example is the way he's handled Jonathan Kuminga. He should have brought him along faster. This is an incredible, possible once-in-a-generation talent. I also don't agree with the motor comment. Like every criticism you have of him, JD, is very subjective. All I'm doing is bringing numbers.
It's watching and analyzing the game.
I'm watching it too, man. I'm analyzing it too.
Coaches,
I don't see that.
Talking to other people who cover the league.
I talk to other people too, man. I don't know what to tell you.
It's not a personal thing. And again, I think he's probably going to go on to have a nice career. It's just, I think where we disagree, I think you just said it. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think you just said he's a future superstar. You think he's a future superstar? Yeah. Okay. And I'm not even going to rule that out because I think that would be being too hard to say that he can't be that eventually. Where I disagree with people on Kuminga is just the impact that he can have right now. Like, I think he's young enough to continue to develop and get better. And I'll even agree with you on the Warriors. If you want to question how they've handled bringing him along to where he could be farther along at this point, the pushback, though, that I will have on that is when they tried to do that early in the year, not only with him, but Moody and Wiseman, it was costing them games to a point where they had to get the season back on track. Like they were 3-7 trying to let those guys play a little bit.
They barely played in those games.
And
JD,
but there's a reason they barely played. It's because they needed to go back to the starters because they weren't trustable.
They still lost those games. The 3-7 mark at the start of the season. To put that on the three youngsters when
I'm not. No, it was the veterans were coasting too. The veterans didn't want to play any defense. Steph, Klay, and Dre didn't want to play any defense, and they got in some tricky situations.
And you had two-way guys who sucked playing a lot of minutes too, and that's went on most of the season.
Well,
Dude,
I
look at this. Like I'm looking at Kuminga's game log right now, and I'm looking at
here's
Warriors.
the irony. I know you think Anthony Lamb stinks.
I do.
I know you.
He's okay.
I've heard your work. I know. Is that a fair characterization or not?
Well, I think Ty Jerome stinks. Like I don't want to ever see Ty Jerome.
Oh, okay. I think
Lamb, like you look at the
he's
measurables.
Insignificant. I think Ty Jerome's insignificant, but he's a ball handler. And
now, but he was playing. He was averaging.
He was playing
because
Steph Curry was hurt, and Jordan Poole was in the starting lineup, and you needed a backup guard that could handle the ball. Like Moses Moody can't play Ty Jerome's role. Like, and I'm not saying you're saying that, but a lot of people were saying, Moody should get his minutes.
Well, my pushback to that was you look at the Warriors a year ago when they won a world championship and they started the season 18-2. You look at that team.
None of the young guys were playing.
But right, that's not my point.
That's why they were 18-2. They were playing freaking
that's not my point, Jake.
and Otto Porter and GP2.
Let me finish. And that's not my point. My point is that their backup point guard last year, even in games when Steph missed, was Chris Chiozza. You still did not see Chris Chiozza play a lot of games and a lot of minutes. They didn't have
as many injuries.
What's up?
They didn't have as many injuries.
But they still had some.
They didn't have as many as they had this year. That's fair. Point.
You're right. But the point is, even last year, though, they didn't need a backup point guard. And it's just the way the system is run, you don't need it. Like Steve Kerr's triangle offense is this version of it, the split action. It doesn't require this ball handling savvy like Malik Monk, like De'Aaron Fox. You don't need that type of player in this system. The 90s Bulls, which run a very similar system, outside of BJ Armstrong, they never had like a point guard like that. You don't need a player like that. The Ty Jerome thing, I never understood it just because he played 18 minutes a game and he was such a liability defensively. It cost them numerous games. I could not believe I just don't know what Kerr's doing this whole year, man. And so when you or anyone will sit here and says, well, like Kerr believes that Kuminga should only play 3 minutes and he shouldn't play. I don't, that's not enough for me to go, okay, Kerr thinks this, so that makes sense. Like Kerr's lost that trust with me, man. He's bungled the season, dude. They had the worst road record in the NBA for a defending world champion. It's I don't know. It's been frustrating. Anyways,
I'll give you that. We're gonna agree to disagree, Larry. I'm not gonna condemn. We
you know what?
Talking about Ty Jerome on April 18th in a playoff series. So I'm gonna give
but
you
Anthony
that
Lamb. But I'll say about Anthony Lamb, like if you look at the advanced metrics, like in terms of net rating, and you look at like all the lineups that Anthony Lamb has played in, most of those are in the positive. Like he hasn't hurt the team, but he's just.
And Lamb and Kuminga is a good combination. Like that's a lot. I know a lot of people like Lamb or Kuminga over Lamb, and the truth is, they're very complementary. Like the two of them right now would be the perfect player in a lot of ways for this Warriors team because Lamb can keep the ball moving and he's more competent a shooter from out high. And so but they complemented each other very well this year. Kerr likes having those two on the floor together for that purpose. And the Draymond, Lamb, and Kuminga groups in some of those games where the Warriors were shorthanded in other areas help them win games. So a lot of those games where Kuminga was playing well, Lamb was also playing. In fairness, not to denigrate your Kuminga point, but just to add to the Anthony Lamb point, I think Lamb gets hunted in this series if he gets out on the floor. By the way,
I've never liked Lamb. Don't like mint jelly. Don't like lamb chops. Don't like lamb roast.
Larry, I think that's why we haven't seen him. By the way, is because I think
there's no mint jelly to put on him. No. Why are we not seeing Lamb?
I think we're not seeing Lamb because Kerr knows that they'll attack him defensively, and he just isn't quick enough to keep up. So I think I'll give you the same reasons in a lot of ways that it's not the same reason, but the same thinking in that Kerr analyzing who can be effective and who can't is why we haven't seen Lamb to this point. But you start searching for answers, Larry, and, would it surprise you if he plays a little bit at home on Thursday night? It probably wouldn't at this point.
95.7 Brian here, who I think has some good chats, and he throws this one in. He says the Warriors' offense is based on player movement, ball movement, and that has been non-existent in these first 2 games of the series. Need to get back to their foundation on offense. Too much ISO. JD, it's a great comment by Brian. I also think that Mike Brown has had a profound impact on this series with one adjustment. He's forcing Klay Thompson and Steph Curry. He's crowding them around the three-point line and daring Golden State to gut them down the middle. And Golden State keeps sending bodies out to set deep picks. And there's all these bodies, and then they start whipping it around the perimeter, and they're throwing it away. They're making a wild pass. They're getting to the end of the shot clock. Wiggins hit the side of the backboard on a shot clock violation. They're not countering it with what I wanted to see them counter it with, which was put Draymond in the middle of the floor where there's an enormous amount of room right now because the defense is so extended. Throw him an easy, wide-open pass, have him pivot, and have some guys attack the hole and give him that triple threat option to look to his right, look to his left, throw the lob, pound the dribble, throw a floater. Put the game in his hands, get downhill from the free throw line, and let him go, find the open guy on a lob or on a cut and get Poole and DiVincenzo and Kuminga or anybody that you think's athletic going to the bucket. And then once you score 5, 6, 7 times like that, suddenly it's going to be they're going to have to defend Steph and Klay beyond the arc at a risk. Right now, Sacramento's extended their defense, and you would swear, JD, if you watch this series, that they are a very good defensive team because the Warriors have been totally unable to make any adjustment to them extending their guards out on the perimeter. What do you see? Based on what I just described to you, what are you seeing? What's the counter? What do you think they're going to try to do going into Game 3? To me, unless you solve that, it's like not being able to run the ball in the NFL or not being able to stop the run. You can't stop the run. That's all you're getting. If you can't deal with ball pressure at the three-point line, you're going to wind up checking out of this series. They have to make an adjustment. They got to figure out a way to gut the Kings in the middle of the floor and force them back into a more conventional defensive alignment. How do they do it? First of all, what do you think of that comment, by the way?
No, I think you're onto something with that. I think there's times where they have been able to get the ball to the middle, and it has turned into a layup line. I mean, when the Warriors have gotten through the initial pressure and run their offense without settling for a bad three, which I get it. A lot of those bad threes are not bad threes because it's Steph and Klay that are shooting them, but they still, I think, have been a little impatient in taking some of those shots that they historically have made at a high enough level overwhelmingly to win, better than anybody in the history of the game. But I think attacking it, I think getting rid of the ball quicker, and again, it's not a double necessarily, but just coming up and moving the ball to a wing quicker and getting the ball movement. I think even if you come up and you hit Wiggins at the wing and you let Wiggins try to attack, or you run some kind of a weave at the top almost to get everybody moving, where it's not just a sheer somebody coming out and setting the pick, but you just get the Kings defenders to have to be able to take up more space and have to, watch as players start cutting and moving. I also think the other thing you can do is do that and then attack, whether it's some kind of, Curry gives it up, he runs around, you get it back to Curry and Curry attacks and try to attack off the dribble a little bit more, but not as you're walking the ball up the court either, because that's just too taxing. And you're right. Part of it is the Warriors are not getting into their offense quickly enough. And so once they do finally get into their offense, they're panic stricken and they're taking that first quick open three because they're, not really able to get anything else in the first 10 to 15 to 20 seconds of the shot clock. So I think moving it sooner and getting into a little bit of a passing game and a flow type offense sooner. Cyrus, you mentioned the Bulls offense of, back in the 90s and all of that. When the Bulls were humming in the half court offense, it was, they got it up the court and they threw a wing pass almost immediately and they started all this action around it. I feel like there's been, in some ways, it may be a little bit too much dribbling and trying, as Larry said, to come out and set that pick and dribble off of that pick. To me, it's more pass the ball to get yourself into better positions to where you can drive it as the defense is having to move around, which is not Sacramento's strength. You can beat the hell out of Sacramento by making them move defensively and then either beating them on cuts or beating them by attacking when they're vulnerable.
And it doesn't help that the team had 40 3-point attempts tonight. I mean, if they're making more than 32% of them, great. But Steph was 3 of 13. Wiggins was 2 of 8. I mean, yeah, Larry, we've talked about this, I feel like, a lot already, but you're right, man. I like your idea of Draymond Green reverting back to the traditional role he's played for most of his career, which is a point guard. We don't see him at the top of the key as much. And I don't know I don't know the reason for that, in all honesty, but I am confident they're talking about that, either whether it's in the locker room or whether it's on the bus ride back tonight. I'm sure they're having those discussions about the fact that ball movement is not taking place and they're forcing shots. But I still think two things are killing the Warriors here. One is their bench has just been slaughtered, and that's going to change at home. So that will revert in opposite directions for both teams. But you got to win one road game. I mean, you got to win one in Sacramento. So they got to fix that at some point. And whether that's DiVincenzo playing a lot better and having field goal attempts, and so I have no idea what will happen to him. I wouldn't mind again. Excuse me. I wouldn't mind when Mike Brown brings out Alex Len, and the Kings are just an overall much bigger team. What the hell was the point of getting JaMychal Green if he's just going to rot on the bench? JaMychal Green, I know, has struggled this year, but at 6'9", with his physicality, at least bring him out and match him up with those Alex Len minutes. I don't understand why you're not doing that. I mean, the Warriors are such a small team out there in the series. When Moses Moody was playing, Moses Moody looked like the biggest player on the Warriors roster. He looked like a huge human being out there. I don't like seeing that. I don't like the fact that the Warriors are routinely getting bullied out there. I don't like the fact that the pressure is so much on Draymond Green and Kevon Looney in terms of rebounding and the interior. They're getting in foul trouble because of it. Their defense struggles because of it, largely because of the fact that because they're so small, and every time the Kings bring the ball inside, they're oftentimes getting help defense. And suddenly you're getting all these open shooters out there. So to me, the bench has to improve. The way you do that is actually trust them instead of, Kerr just having this super short leash. I mean, I know Kuminga, look, there's no disagreement that Kuminga had a horrible start tonight, but I don't understand how you can judge him when he's getting such a limited run, unless, again, you just believe everything Steve Kerr tells you. But I don't agree with a lot of what Steve Kerr did this year. And one of the many things I don't agree with is how he's treated his youngsters, Moses Moody and Jonathan Kuminga. I don't know how you build their confidence doing this. And this is not translating to success. If it was translating to success, I would support it. A 44-38 record, 11-30 on the road, being down 0-2 in the playoffs. I'm all about results. The results are not there, so change has to be done. And I do think one of those changes, make Gary Payton II play even more. I'm glad his minutes went from 20 to 27 in this game, or 26. Make it 32. He is that important for your team. So I would like some more Gary Payton minutes, maybe even more than what we've seen so far. And yeah, I want to see Kuminga, man. Like, if Kuminga is giving you 20, 25, 30 minutes and playing the whole time like this, dude, bash the man all you want. But every time he's out there for extended runs, when he has an extended run, I never hear anyone bitch about him, because every time he plays 25 plus minutes, he's actually successful. And unlike the eye test, which is the judgment a lot of people have on him in terms of negativity, when you look at the stats, he does great. They're all great. So I want to see more. That I think would turn the series around if Kerr actually wasn't so stubborn and rigid in his decision making. But that's me.
Let's move off of the Kuminga thing, because we disagree. I mean, I personally feel like he should have been brought along to be more than he is right now. I do agree that he looked like a deer in the headlights tonight, and that look definitely didn't inspire confidence. But somehow they're gonna. I don't know that you can just put him away and just be like, well, we'll win the series without him. It just seems like that. I think they're gonna either Kuminga or Moody, I think, is going to have to give them some decent minutes. Let's talk about Game 3. Is there an adjustment to be made? Or do you just really believe because the change in venue that the Warriors bench, which has been outplayed in the first 2 games by the Kings bench, will then flip the script on Sacramento in Game 3? If there was one thing that I talked to Mark Willard about all last week that I was very confident the Warriors had an advantage in, it was the Warriors bench. I thought was deeper and better and had better defensive players than the Kings bench. And here we are 2 games into the series, and the Warriors bench is looking worse than ever because now you've got guys like Kuminga. It's like, well, wait a second. Does he have any role in this series? Is he going to play any minutes at all? And then it's like DiVincenzo gave you nothing. Jordan Poole does not look like a player that's worth $5 million a year, let alone $35 million a year. So I don't. The Warriors bench has evaporated. It reminds me of pouring water on cotton candy. It's like goodbye. It's all gone. What's going to happen in Game 3? Is there something that Steve can do? We've seen Nick Oren suggest different things, different lineups. We've seen the Warriors staff make adjustments in the past, mid-series. And a lot of times the Warriors get advantage of the series, get control, and don't look back when they make that adjustment. JD, do you see an adjustment to be made? Cy, do you see an adjustment that realistically can be made before Thursday night?
I think
JD, go ahead, please. I've been on here a lot longer than you tonight. So
no, you're good, brother. As far as the bench, I mean, you're hoping the bench is better just because you're at home, and I'm with you. I think you start looking at the case to be made for certain players being playable versus non-playable among that bench, and it's tricky because you could make a case, as I kind of did early, that you really only trust 6 right now with Peyton plus the starters. And that you can't live that I will agree with. You can't only play 6 for the final 5 games of a series. So somebody is going to have to play, whether it's, I still think Poole is part of that because he has the most track record of success among the players that are remaining. I think Moody's going to get a shot for sure on Thursday night to try and extend what he was able to do tonight in helping the Warriors. And as far going back to JaMychal Green, I think the concern with playing JaMychal Green is twofold. It's one, they're going to put him in pick and roll, and he can't defend it at all. And it's 2, he's the kind of guy that where Looney and Draymond at times have really made life difficult on Sabonis on the interior. I think they also would just go down to I think they feel Sabonis would eat him alive in the post, and so.
That's why
twofold.
I said claiming the Alex Len minutes. I agree with you. Don't play JaMychal Green against Sabonis.
They can use Alex Len. Alex Len, it's funny you say that. Yeah. Alex Len's actually a guy in the past that people have laughed at that I've said, you know what? He actually would be a fit when people talk about random bigs that, we got to have another big, Warriors have got to have another big, that kind of thing. Alex Len, I've believe it or not, never thought was a useless player. He's kind of, in some ways, the perfect type big that the Warriors would deploy at times over the years where they had much better teams.
Yeah, and like I said, I look at this again, the Kuminga thing. I don't mean to make it a tired thing, but I feel, first of all, I feel it's not fair to Jordan Poole to bash him tonight. I know he played awful, but that injury is real. He's legitimately Jordan Poole is a guy who will play through anything. He has a high tolerance for pain, but this ankle injury is clearly affecting him. It was the whole time you're watching this game, he's not moving like his normal self. He's moving slow. He's being gimpy. Like in Game 1, he played good basketball. He actually was not a liability. He made his first 2 threes. I know he missed the last 3 because he turns into thinking he's Stephen Curry, and then he starts taking these super long ball shots, and it's over. But in Game 1, he still had an efficient, good game. In 22 minutes, he had 17 points. He was, he shot 40%, was 2 for 5 from 3. I thought he was okay. The Poole we saw tonight was awful. So I think if you're Steve Kerr, you have to look at Poole and go, if that's the version we're getting of you, in the game 2 version, you can't play. Like, he has to put his foot down there and say, sorry, man, but like you are a liability, especially defensively. So I don't know what you do about DiVincenzo, because he's a player that he started game 1. He's been a vitally important piece of this team the whole year, and he's sure as shit picked like an awful time to start laying eggs, man.
I think DiVincenzo's simply an off night. I think he's an off night tonight. I mean, what did you guys see with DiVincenzo? I mean, to me, I just saw a guy that just didn't get in the flow. They're crowding the Warriors on the perimeter.
Yeah.
And it's like he's a playmaker, but it's like they can't decide how they want to react to being crowded on the perimeter. And so he seems indecisive, like, hey guys, what do you want to do? And it's like he's got to play. He really is a great guy to play off of star players. Mm-hmm. But he's not going to dictate to them. He's going to play off of them. And when basically the Warriors, Steph and Klay are trying to free themselves up around the 3-point line, there's all kinds of guys setting screens, but they're never really gutting them down the middle. So he's kind of like caught up, just kind of, do I set a screen? Do I just play off them? Do I, I don't know. He looked really uncomfortable tonight. DiVincenzo looks comfortable with every matchup, every personnel grouping, every group of 4 other guys. He always looks comfortable. Guys, to me, tonight, he looked uncomfortable, like he wasn't sure of exactly what the Warriors wanted to get done. Almost as if maybe the Warriors had one plan before the game and they didn't react, as the game was going on. What did you guys see with DiVincenzo? He's far too smart of a player and he can do too many things between rebounding, passing, scoring, shooting. There's so many things the guy can do, but tonight he just looked like he kind of didn't. He looked really indecisive and uncomfortable.
I'll say one thing. In game 1, Kerr employed this lineup, which I loved, which had DiVincenzo and Gary Payne II playing together. Even though they're small together, 1'6'4", 1'6'3", they're both fantastic defensive players. And I liked it. It was a very brief moment. It was early in the third quarter, and it was part of the period where the Warriors built up a 10-point lead. What Kerr did tonight, and I don't know if that's something to do with it, but Kerr had this lineup out there. We had 4 point guards in Looney. He had Steph, he had Gary Payne II, he had Dante DiVincenzo. I feel like you can live with that, just because Gary Payne II and DiVincenzo, despite being short, are, again, phenomenal defensive players. They're tough. But when you add Poole to that, defensively, you're going to be – I don't know if you can survive that anymore. You're 2 out of your 5 players are stalwarts. Steph can sort of hold his own. Looney depends on the night, because Sabonis, sometimes he handles them well, sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes Sabonis just penetrates, bumps him, bodies him up, and then just gets an easy 2 points. So I think part of it could be like who Kerr is playing DiVincenzo with. So maybe DiVincenzo is not burdened so much, because again, he only played 12 minutes tonight, and part of those 12 minutes was a lineup that I just said with 3 other point guard type players and Looney. And I don't think you should be doing that. What I want to see most of all is I just want to see less small ball, and what that's going to mean, unfortunately, for Steve Kerr, because again, he has these trust issues with his young players, but I think you're going to have more than Kuminga, who's played a whopping total, again, of 13 minutes in this series, or 14. And he wasn't bad in game 1, by the way. He scored 8 points on 3 of 6 shooting. He actually got to the line. JD, it's okay. You and I will disagree on this, but I really think Kuminga is a game changer. I want to see 25 plus minutes from him. I love the fact that Kerr finally went to Moses Moody, and he made that change in the third quarter early when Draymond Green, I think, picked up his 4th foul or his 3rd foul. And Moody delivered, man. And so give those 2 a much bigger run. I think that's huge. And I do agree that JaMychal Green is a liability in most cases, but if he can't handle Alex Len, he just should not be on this roster, period. And I think even if it involves pick and roll situations, this team already has so many defensive holes that whatever liability JaMychal Green presents in defensive situations, at least he is making life more difficult for the Kings as they're attacking the paint. And instead of having a 6'2" guy there, now you have a 6'9" guy there. That does make a difference. That is why in basketball, taller players routinely play and shorter people don't. It's because they get more efficient shots, and it's because they play better defense. And JaMychal Green has had nights where he's actually been a good three-point shooter, or he's actually just decided to flip that switch and has been an awesome interior player for him. So I hope there's just more trust. Time is running out. If they lose game 3, the season's over. I mean, this is a must-win, absolutely. So I just hope that Kerr finds more trust for certain players, chief among them, Kuminga. I think with the DiVincenzo thing, maybe find better players to surround him with. I don't have any other answer for tonight in terms of why he struggled so hard and why he did not have a single field goal attempt. But the Moody Kuminga thing, I hope they get a run, man. And in all honesty, if I see Anthony Lamb and it's successful, I'll be happy too. I don't know if that's the answer, but there you go.
I think Moody is going to get run. I think he might get Kuminga's run, which won't make you happy, Cyrus. But I also don't think because they're going home that Kuminga is completely out of the equation. That does give Kerr, I think, one more opportunity to potentially play him. I want to touch on the DiVincenzo thing though, because I think it was as simple as he had a difficult time adjusting to going back to the bench. When DiVincenzo has been his most effective, and I think you're onto something with he's playing with better players, Well, he's been his most effective when he's played a lot, in my opinion. And this comes like when he's been forced to play 30 minutes or closer to it, because and I think it goes to the incongruity of maybe the way this roster was built, because I will give you, I don't think that Kuminga playing more has been the reason for the team's success necessarily at the rate that you've laid out with some of the numbers. But Kuminga, I would put in a similar category to DiVincenzo, and that when both of them, because of injuries, have been forced to play more, they've individually played better. And that obviously at times can help the team more than me. Like they've both, to me, struggled in a similar way, even though they're different players, with, hey, now I got to play 15 minutes or now I got to play 20 minutes. And they just can't do the things that make them effective when they are effective without a little bit of a longer leash. The problem, though, is it's almost at times like the Warriors have had two different rosters this year. They've had the don't have Wiggins roster, which means DiVincenzo gets to play more and Kuminga maybe gets a little bit of a longer lead. But now Wiggins is back. And so everybody's roles change, and they put Wiggins back in the starting lineup. And so his role changes. And then I think, Kuminga is separate from that, I think, directly. But I think he struggled in a role where he had to try to be as effective as he had been when he's playing a lot, when he's not. And it led to this indecisiveness to where he didn't even take a shot. And so I would lean toward trying to play DiVincenzo more. Like if you're saying, JD, give me 8, like give me 8 guys. Like who are your 8? I'd go Curry, Klay, Looney, Draymond, Wiggins. I'd go Peyton as my 6, obviously. I would go DiVincenzo 7 and probably Moody 8 at this point if we're going to assume. I mean, Poole would be – I think Moody probably ends up taking Kuminga's spot. If Poole can't play, then it opens the door for both of them. But it's like, I'd give DiVincenzo more of a shot to bounce back and hey, he's getting a shot because he's helped us in tangible ways, but he just gets, I think he tends to float when the role shifts and he doesn't know, like, God, there's all these shooters that need their shots. Do I shoot? Do I keep it moving? He's just been a little bit out of place as a guy that's thrived, I think, when he's also thrived when the Warriors have almost played him up a position too, which is like you think of him as a 1-2, but he's actually been better, I think, when he's played the 3 this year, or when he's been out there with Steph and Klay, and maybe Klay's technically the 3 in those kinds of lineups. So I think it goes to the deeper Larry roster incongruity where it's almost like there's been the, hey, we're injured and these guys are playing roster, and that's, you got to play one way doing that, to the, hey, we have everybody, how do all the pieces fit? They really don't in a meaningful way on a regular basis, in particular on the road. And that's why the Warriors have found themselves so burnt so many times. And with these first 2 games kind of looking like a lot of their road losses this year.
Amazing live stream. We have almost 400 people still in the room. It's almost 1 o'clock in the morning. We're only going to go about 10 more minutes, and then we're going to call it quits. But New Dawn Red October says, Larry, we're in trouble. Draymond might be suspended for Game 3. Is that a possibility?
I thought it was initially. I don't know. You guys probably have talked about this for 2 hours before I popped on, but when that jumped off, I thought that's not only he's tossed, but there's a potential for a suspension. The league's absolutely going to review it. I feel less so that he runs the risk of getting suspended now, just based on the fact that Sabonis was culpable in that scenario. And I'm gonna be honest with you guys, Sabonis has been getting away with a lot of low-key shit.
Yeah.
Can we say that? I know we can. So yeah, he's been getting away with a lot of dirty stuff. And I think it's frustrating the Warriors. I think the general tone from the Warriors on the officiating is there's been long stretches where they've let him play, but the Warriors have been called for more touch fouls, and the Kings have gotten away with more of the low-key, under-the-surface dirty stuff. And so I do think there was a little bit of, I'm not letting this dude grab me and get punked to what Draymond did. But I don't think it was intentional in that moment. I think Draymond thought he could get away with something that might have been a little intentional, but might not, or might look a little intentional, but really wasn't intentional. I think when you look at it, and the league, this is what the league will do. The league will review the incident, how hard he went, came down on him, intentional, non-intentional. But I think what does bode well for Draymond is they're also going to look at how this whole series has been officiated. And I do think the Warriors in some ways have a case that at times they've let the Kings get away with a little bit. While the total calls and those kinds of things look even, they've been very adept with, and Draymond called out Monk for holding them down. There was the scrum where Sabonis and Draymond got locked up in game 1. I would not be surprised if,
and the challenge, and the Warriors challenge was on that weird play too, where Sabonis and Draymond got tangled up and they called the foul. It was completely inadvertent what Draymond did. He was just moving on, and they made contact, and they call that foul on Draymond before the challenge reversed it, thankfully. But unfortunately, they also had to use their one and only challenge at the 10-minute mark of the fourth quarter, or whenever that was. I hope they don't suspend him, man. But it's just the way the league is, and the way things have come down, especially with Draymond Green. It wouldn't surprise me.
Did you see him egging on the fans? Did you see that the big ginger with the tank top who was flipping double birds, and he was 5 rows down. He was walking down to the bench. I mean, Draymond's throwing F-bombs right at his face, calling him a loser. The guy's throwing double F-bombs or double birds. It looked like he was about ready to charge in. I mean, that scene was freaking wild, man. I mean, we spent a lot of time up in Sacramento. Their fans are passionate. There's some some backwoods fans up there who get who are I chop wood and I plow my land and I'm gonna come kick your ass, and it's like, dude, you're gonna mess with Draymond Green? I mean, my goodness. So go have another Bud Light, buddy, and sit down.
Sacramento is a little more Bay Area light than I think people give it credit for, but also with a hint of Reno. If that makes sense. It's and I'm from Sacramento originally, so I can say that with
hint of Reno
to everybody.
That's awesome.
It's Bay Area light on one hand, but then it's also with a hint of Reno on the other hand that I think pops in. I think everybody kind of knows where I'm coming from there. Just one quick note, you guys, from being in the building.
Yeah.
So when all that's going on and they're reviewing the call, and Draymond is sitting there waiting to find out his fate, and everybody thinks he's going to get ejected, and the cameras are on him, and obviously they picked up a lot of the stuff you just described. They put him on the big board.
Yeah. Oh my God, what was the reaction?
In Golden One Center, they put him on the board as he's waiting to in purgatory to get run from the game, and the crowd goes absolutely nuts, and just they're booing. It's 18,000 booing. And he turns right up, seeing that he's on the screen, and he lets out the biggest Draymond Green smile, hey, what's going on? He was absorbing and enjoying and trolling for every minute of it in only the way Draymond can. But the crowds have been absolutely incredible. The first two
the
games
atmosphere is just
this series.
killer. Hey, last one. We'll let you guys go on this one. Hendricks.
And there's an onus on Chase. I want to jump in, like Warrior fans, Warrior fans that are pissed off at
don't sell your tickets to Kings fans.
The way that this thing has gone, these first two, no matter what it is, whether it's you're pissed because Kuminga is not getting his, I don't care what it is, bring the edge to Chase, because the Kings have been a good road. To me, that's been a low-key story of this series. Is the Kings fans have been great. The Warriors fans haven't been able to get in. I know the Warriors have all the championships and first rounds may not cut it for everybody anymore, but there is a means for that fan base to add to the luster of this series if they're into it and edgy, as Warrior fans of Oracle and Chase both still can be.
Are you, JD, since you're from Sacramento, does that mean you're a Kings fan?
I did, full disclosure. I am an objective observer now. But I did. Right. I did.
If you're an objective observer, then so am I, sir. Continue on.
No. I am. No, I grew up a Kings fan. I will admit I did grow up a Kings fan. The first game I ever went to was in Sacramento. I'm not rooting for either team in this series. That's
the bigger question is this: are you still a Giants fan?
Yes. I'll say that because I don't cover them. I don't really cover the Giants that much.
Because I don't have to watch it. I'm still a Giants fan because I don't have to watch it. I can just follow the box scores.
So I grew up a Niner fan, a Giants fan, and a Kings fan in my youth. And I'll be honest, that I became, before I moved to the Bay and started covering the Warriors, I became really disgruntled. And it was very personal, honestly, between – and Larry, you know some of this story, and I'll share it. I worked at the Kings flagship station for 10 years, and I was a tell it like it is guy. And when the Kings got bad and they fired Rick Adelman and they hired Eric Musselman and Reggie Theus and a bunch of other, Paul Westphal and a bunch of other, and the Maloofs were threatening to leave and meddling in every single thing that franchise was doing, claiming that they were the reason behind that franchise being great. And it was completely fraudulent, because if you go through and actually look at the timeline of the great early 2000s teams, when and how they were built in large part before the Maloofs even took over as owners. They claimed it, and then they tore it down, and then they tried to leave town. And I was brutally honest. And I know you guys have both worked at flagship stations of teams that you do that, you find yourself in a whole pot of heaping hot water from time to time. And to put it bluntly, I found myself in that position because I was being a little too honest about what was going on and the legitimate threats to them moving and just not being on board with the company line. I refused to speak the company line, and they basically tried to get me taken off the air. And so that, to be honest, ruined, and this is going back 2010, 2011, that ruined my fandom to where I was like, you know what? I love the NBA. There's a job opportunity in the Bay. I'm going to go to the Bay and I want to cover the league and do it objectively. And the Warriors were that perfect opportunity for me. So I don't claim Warrior fandom at all. But I've been fortunate enough to be along for the ride, covering the team and doing pre and post game and all of that stuff and enjoying great basketball and talking about it. But in many ways, because I grew up a Niner fan and a Giants fan, not to bore everybody, but the Warriors were the one team I could be legitimately objective about. And it was refreshing. And in a lot of ways, it reinvigorated my love of the game, which really got beat down by the drag ass of all the company line bullshit that everybody was spewing at that station. Larry, we both used to work for.
It feels comfortable. It feels nice to say bullshit, doesn't it?
Doesn't it
does. You feel liberated?
I'm trying not to overuse it, but the ability to do it is nice. So
hey, two last thoughts. No, two last thoughts, and then we'll bolt for the door. It's 1 a.m.
Before you do that, I want to add something.
Go ahead, Si.
You can be objective and still be a fan of the team. They don't.
Yes, 100%.
You can separate the two.
I'm a Giants fan. I'm objective.
100%.
Like if I was an absolute homer, I would be sitting here saying Steve Kerr is the great's coach ever. I'd sitting here defending every Bob Myers roster decision. I absolutely do not, as anyone who watches Locked On Warriors know. And but I also am happy in my current position. I thought I was done with the media. I know there's a couple haters in the chat, like Jonathan Thomas, who has an obsessive personality. He's been coming on Locked On Warriors trying to hate on me as well. Get a life, brother. And then the other person I have to call out here, which I noticed senior softball games, who's criticizing my journalistic integrity. I was an award-winning journalist for 15 years, writing for the San Francisco Chronicle, for USA Today, for the
Let me
Huffington
just
Post.
wait. Let me just say this.
I actually won awards, man, and then now I'm
this
having
is
fun.
This is the Krueger show. Nobody would appear on this show that was not credible, in my opinion. Okay, if somebody's on this show, it's not because they're kind of pretty good. I can get all kinds of people. I get 35 people a day who want to be on this show.
Yeah.
Okay. It's easy to get good. It's easy to get guests. It's not easy to get credible, intelligent people who have strong opinions. I knew you guys were going to lock horns tonight. It's not why I had you both on, but I just know I've talked to Sai about Kuminga. And I know JD's take on Kuminga, so I knew that you guys were going to go at each other tonight. But you know what? Who the fuck cares? At the end of the day, it's good dialogue. It's good energy. JD's damn credible. Sai's damn credible. Guess what? They have different perspectives on sports. We're all going to live. All right, so people acting like this is like, this cannot happen again. What? This cannot happen again? Try Thursday night, motherfucker. It's going to happen again.
Say this, and I'm with you, Cyrus. Like, you are 100%. Like, you can be a fan and be credible, and you do it. And that was not a shot. Like, when I said I'm objective or whatever, that was not a shot. So I hope you didn't take that as a shot. It was not a shot at all.
Thanks, man.
Seriously, no, you guys are, and you guys are both huge. You guys are both hugely credible. JD, I celebrate you, even though you're not here always to hear it. Your tweet with about a week and a half to go in the season when you outlined every potential scenario.
Yeah,
I didn't just like the tweet. I liked it. I retweeted it. I printed a copy and put it in my notebook so I could reference it. So I have nothing but, and I've got great respect for your Giants knowledge, your Niner knowledge. You've been on with me and Lowe during the season. You and I have hosted shows together. I got nothing but respect for you, JD. Sai, we go back years and years and years. I got nothing but respect for you as well. We don't always agree. That's the nature of sports. It's not personal, and it never should get personal. Yeah. Two last questions. This one, Hendricks, you're in denial if you think the Kings aren't the better team. The Warriors dynasty is over. Accept it. What do you guys think about that? Are the Kings the better team?
They have been so far.
Mm-hmm.
They look
but I mean,
right.
like, if you said, do you really believe, though, they were the better team in the regular season, they've been the better team in the series, do you think they're the better team?
Right now?
Or do you think Golden State's going to get off the canvas, JD, get off the canvas, Sai, serve some huge can of whoop ass, and move on to the next round?
Here's what I'll say,
and show that they're the better team.
Here's what I'll say about it. If Klay Thompson can take his game to the level that he needs to take it to, where his game used to be, and I'm not seeing it now. I know his box score tonight. Game one wasn't great. Tonight, he actually, he had that great fourth quarter. I think he shot 50% from three. But he's not, when you look at Klay out there, he's not one of the best players on that court. De'Aaron Fox is outplaying him. Herter looks like an equal to him. That can't continue. So I do think that if the Warriors, and I hope they still have it in them, but I think if they're going to retake this series, Klay is going to have to be that X factor, because if he continues playing like this, where he's giving you 21 points and you hear nothing from him for quarters at a time, yeah, I'm going to say the Kings are the better team. But I do think the potential is there with adjustments and with certain elevation of play from certain individuals. Draymond Green has to be a little smarter. I still defend him tonight. I don't want to vilify him. He was baited. You can't criticize what he did without also prefacing that the effect was because of the cause, which was Sabonis wrapping his legs around him and holding him. You can't do that, man. So you can't vilify Draymond. So, but at the same time, Draymond has that reputation. He's not going to get away with doing shit like that, and he needs to be aware of that. So if Draymond needs to play smarter, Klay needs to step his game up a little bit. Steph needs to stay healthy and start making shots. We can't ignore the fact that Stephen Curry tonight was 3 for 13 from beyond the arc. Like, that's bad. That needs to change too. So the home cooking will be nice, and we'll see.
All right, fellas. JD, you got a final thought on the way out the door here? Thank you, by the way. I know you're doing yeoman's work. You're covering this thing for the radio station. What time were you on the air today? You did pre, right?
I was the first on the air with Steiny and Guru today. We did a half hour around noon, I think, from shoot around. I was in the building at Warriors shoot around 10:30, 11 o'clock this morning, and then pregame at 6. Post-game for close to 2 hours after the game, and then on with you guys for an hour, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I mean, I love this stuff. I mean, the series has been, from an emotional standpoint, just electric. It's been awesome. And, the Warriors are hoping the home cooking will get them right, and that I still think this thing's going 6 minimum, whether the Warriors win it or not. I'm confident in that because the Warriors have been able to slow the Kings down in ways that they're not used to getting slowed down either. Now, the Kings have still won enough of the big moments to lead 2-0, but it's almost, there's two different ways that you can look at it. One, in that, hey, the Kings haven't played that well, but they're up 2-0. That doesn't bode well for the Warriors. But I think the other thought is, hey, the Warriors have made the Kings not the best version of themselves, and that bodes well for the Warriors as they start to figure out some of the problems that they've had in this series. So I do think there's a path. The most concerning thing, though, to me, is it does seem like the Warriors have fewer playable, trustable players. Does home cooking fix some of that with a lot of the names we've talked about? I think that's the biggest question going into Game 3. And just don't forget, the Kings are a weird team. They were a really good road team. And I know Chase in the playoffs is different, but they had the best road record in the Western Conference. And, they handled themselves. In some ways, they played better defensively and better offensively, I think, on the road. When you look at some of the numbers, I think defensively, for sure, they played better on the road. So we'll see. But this is a new one for the Warriors. I think Draymond kind of said it all post-game, and I'll close it on this. When he was asked by Marcus Thompson about, you guys have seen it all, but you haven't been down 0-2 in a series. And Draymond, again, just like that scoreboard smile, lets out a big smile, and he says, hey, that's exciting, isn't it? And just kind of like they have an opportunity to do something they haven't done. Big picture, like, I know coming into this thing, it's like, hey, can the Warriors win a championship or not? Like, I know that's not really the conversation for now because they're in the throes of this series and they're in trouble. But I do, we can save that question for another night. But I think the opportunity to do something in this series that they've never done before is a challenge that this group of 4-time champions will gladly accept.
JD, you rock, brother. Peace. We'll let you jet here, but Thursday night maybe, huh?
Yep, you got it.
Time. If you get posted, fellas. I'll send you the invite. You'll have a day to sleep on it and think about it, but hopefully we can you'll join us Thursday night.
And JD,
is Sai on Thursday? Sai's on Thursday?
Yes, Sai's on Thursday.
Well, depends. Are
maybe we'll have to see.
I'm kidding.
No, I mean,
I don't want to scare you off. I didn't want to scare you off. I didn't want to scare you off.
If Sai's in, I'm in. If Sai's not in, I'm going to think about it.
Good. Well, I was gonna say, we did touch on that, man. Like, I feel like this series is really reinforcing anybody who's saying this dynasty's over. Like, I don't know, regardless of how this series goes, JD, like, they might beat the Kings. Like, I think that's very plausible. And I certainly wanted to stop hearing from Kings fans. I think that's another obvious thing that we're revealing. We're realizing here. No offense to the Kings fans, but you guys are talking a lot. But dude, like, I don't think this is a championship team. I don't. I mean, I think that's what we're seeing. Would you agree with that? I mean,
yes.
What do you think?
I think the big picture is we're seeing a team that can't win a championship, even if they are a team that can figure out this series. And I think, and I'll be short on this one, it's also because of the toll. Like, if the Warriors do come back and win this series, think about how much that's going to take out of them. They're going to have to play 5 more games probably, and 5 more games that are like these last 2 have been. I mean, these last 2 games have felt like 5 games each, and I've just been watching. Like these games have been incredible in terms of intensity and draining and emotion and everything else. They've been captivating as all hell. But yeah, even if the Warriors advance, like what are they going to have left in the tank for anybody else?
The Warriors may win a title, but 2 games in, there are 0 indications of it. JD, we'll let you jump, brother. Hey, hopefully, you're parked in a safe place. Safe travels back here to the creek, and maybe we'll talk to you Thursday night, brother.
Sounds good. Thanks for having me.
There you go.
Nice meeting you, brother.
Cy, you got a final thought on your way out too? I'm gonna read the starred chats after you guys jet, so I can just get through them. But go ahead if you have one final thought.
I'm tapped, man. I didn't realize how late it was. Okay. I'm going to bed.
All right. Well, hey, it's 1:08 in the morning. We're 3 hours and 4 minutes into the live stream. I always appreciate your energy. Don't get down because the chat is Yeah, I mean, come on. I mean, seriously, people, there's people that turn on me in the chat all the time, and and it's my fucking channel. You know what I mean? So what the I hate you, I hate you, I hate you. There's a million shows on YouTube, and I'm following yours. So good to see you, brother. Have a great night. Love you, bro. There you go. He's phenomenal. All right. Whoo-wee. What'd you guys think of that? What did you guys think of that? 3 hours, 312 people still hanging in the room, 600 people, I think, at the most. I still have 63 chats to read, and I'm getting through all 63. There's a lot of donations here. There's a lot of people that have their comments. So I'm going to play a couple spots right here. I'm going to get a pull of water. Please hang with me. Let's finish strong. And then I'm just going to go through the starred chats, of which there are a number of super chats, and I just want to thank all you guys because, some of our best shows have been these playoff shows after the Warriors, after the Niners. Heck, if the Giants ever go to the playoffs, maybe we'll get some post-game Giants. A lot of people have asked about Dan and Rye, and I've got comments on that as well. A lot of people saying great show. Okay, we'll play a couple spots. We'll come back in like 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Hang with us. I'll get to the super chats. I'll get to these comments. And I got a few things you're not going to want to miss. Stick around. More next. But first, let's thank Pig and a Pickle for being the title sponsor of the Krueger Show. Check them out in Corte Madera and in Emeryville. Pig and a Pickle, the best barbecue in all of Northern California.
We grew up with a Sunday dinner. That means no matter how busy you were, no matter where the hell you were, you came to dinner on a Sunday night. Yeah, Sunday dinner without sausage, it's like a church without God. How can you go to church if you don't believe in God? And along with the sausage, also became the discussions. That was discussion night. You know, it wasn't a typical family that you sit there and you're quiet, you know, and you don't talk with a mouthful. Oh no, man. Italians talk when they're eating. Italians even talk when they're sleeping. And definitely we talk with our hands. So if we can't express it through our mouth, through our lips, we express it with our hands. So, and that's what sausage is, really. It's an expression, you know, that life is good.
All right, coming down the home stretch on the Krueger Show, 1:15 in the morning. That was a classic. Hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We got Hendrix, Getting My Snacks. The Car Gods, Larry, best show on the interwebs. Nate Dogg, like and subscribe, baby. Tammy McDaniel, great show, Larry. Should bring in Dan. Okay, so Danny is my good friend. He was a sponsor. He's been on our show, and he's always invited. But Danny and Cy do not get along, and they just can't coexist. So I got to pick and choose. And sometimes I'm going to pick Danny, and sometimes I'm going to pick Cy. I like Danny best on baseball. I like Cy best on basketball. So tonight I decided to have Cy and Baller and Frank, and I knew JD was going to be coming on, and not have Danny. It's my call. It's also, I just don't like to have everybody sitting around not talking. When we have too many people, I want to try to keep it to 3 or 4, just so I don't waste anybody's time. I don't like Baller and Frank and all, these guys have way too much going on to just sit and watch. When we get 5, 6 people in the room, it starts to get like too much. So I made the executive call, because it is my channel, to not have Dan on tonight. And I told Dan as much, because Dan was going to have his brother join us and the whole deal. And I love when Danny's brother joins us, and I love when Dan joins us. But we had Dan on the other night. We didn't have Cy. Cy wanted to come on, so I didn't have Danny on. As far as Ryan, people are asking about Ryan. You know, Ryan is going to be on the show one of these nights as well. He's got a bunch of different things going on in his life that have zero to do with our channel. And so that's really why he hasn't been on. But he's got a standing invite to join us at any time as well. I mean, those guys were original cast members of the Krueger Show, and they've got a standing invite. So there you go. Ricardo says Danny was watching the stream with popcorn. I don't know. It's pretty late in Arizona. Well, maybe we're at the same time. We got this one from Kevin F. Guru was wearing a Krueger Show t-shirt today on the radio and got called out by Steiny. Dude, I just gave Guru a brand new Krueger Show t-shirt, so that's a brand new one for Guru. Guru, and why did he get called out? What has Steiny got against the Krueger Show shirt? Now I'm gonna have to do some research, figure out what's going on there. No, I'm just joking. But yeah, Goo asked for I gave him a Krueger Show shirt. He said, Krug, I need another one. I said, Goo, guess what? I got another one for you. So he's a friend, and he's supporting the channel, and he knows he's on television. He knows he's on YouTube, and he's helping me promote my channel. So way to go, Goo. Thank you very much. And I'm sure Steiny had no real beef, but it's a good thing to give a guy a crap about for sure. G. Martinez. Krug put Ryan and and Danny, and then or I should say Cy and Danny, and then Cy and JD together on purpose. Well, there you go. It's a good show. Amar Singh. Cy is hilarious and emotional. Tammy McDaniel. Come on, guys, hit the likes. So there we go. Amar Singh. Cy was totally wrong on Wiseman too. LOL. It's just, come on. Sometimes we're going to disagree. Luke Luna says, Dan was here before Cy. At least when I first started watching, it was Dan and Ryan. No doubt. No doubt. Danny, I think, is a little bit better on baseball than basketball. Cy needs to apologize. Dan did not cut him off that night. Okay. I hear you. I may even agree with you. When we get them together next, I'll demand apologies. Tammy McDaniel says that would have been a star-studded show, Larry. Yeah, it would have been. G. Martinez says Cy, the fan, is good too. Cy's good. Come on, Cy's good. The Car Gods. Larry, are the Warriors in trouble or are the Kings keeping up? I think the Kings are going to keep it up. I think the Warriors have met their match here. I think the beam is going to stay lit. All right, let's go to the starred chats. These are the starred chats. All right, we got this one. G. Martinez, Scott Foster or Tony Brothers on Thursday. Goon refs scheduled. I don't know my refs. Sorry. What can I say? Don't know my refs. Cool Breeze. Great handle. Warriors look slow. Kings are faster and quicker. It's a good call. The Young Montana. Let's be honest. The beam is lame. I don't know about that, man. The beam. I mean, literally, you had thousands of people chanting, light the beam. I don't know if you can call it lame. Chewy says, I just got on, but did you guys hear Sabonis was getting x-rays on his ribs and lungs? Didn't hear that. Best supporting actor, Domantas Sabonis in a sports drama. Flop king. Knees says, what does this mean for Trey Lance, though? That is awesome. That is awesome. Somebody wake up Ryan Hensley. It's time for him to tweet about Trey. Vicky Pellich, Warriors need to clean up the turnovers or the series is over. Great call there, Vicky. Hendricks, Warriors fans, super salty. What do you fucking expect? They're down 0-2. They're the world champs. Brian Lucena, if Poole didn't get punched, would he have gotten that ridiculous contract? God, how bad is that deal looking? He looks terrible. Ankle injury or not. He didn't have injured ankles all year, and he was Jekyll and Hyde all year. That's just what he is. How much are you going to blame on that ankle? Niner Empire. Okay, even though Cy broke code attacking Danny, he wasn't wrong. The show is flowing great tonight. Now, that was sent before JD joined, and then Cy and JD went at each other. I wonder if Niner Empire feels the same after hearing that, watching that. Digital Drew, not enough being said about the perimeter defense of the Kings tonight. Digital Drew, I know you're in Chicago. You're probably in bed by now, but we talked about it. MF, Gabe Kapler is the corniest mascot in the Bay Area. Oh, that's great. When I saw that, I had to star that. DJ Venus, stop. Kings fans up until this season have been irrelevant. You guys haven't won anything. Not even a playoff appearance. Get out of here with that garbage. DJ Venus representing. 95.7 Brian, why are we shocked that the Warriors are down 0-2 to the Kings? They won 11 games on the road all year. When people tell you who they are, listen to them. Love Brian Iglesias. Guy knows his shit. Sports fan, shit. He starts his comment with shit, which is always a good way to start a comment. Shit. I've been a Kings fan since Dick Motta, Wayman Tisdale, and Lionel Simmons. I ain't no front-running Kings fan. Sports fan, I was there with you. I was a freshman at Sac State. I used to be a waiter in the Kings courtside seats. Travis Mays over to Anthony Bonner, Dwayne Coswell down to Big Ben Guillory, Randy Brown in the corner, over to Ricky Berry, the late Ricky Berry, over to Ainge, back to Jim Peterson, down to Ralph Sampson. Some lean years, man. There's some lean years. Some guy named, didn't they have a guy named Randy Allen or something like that? They just had a bunch of guys, just a bunch of dudes. Brian Iglesias, Sacramento looks like the deeper, faster, bigger, and more athletic team. True enough. True that. No, that's so bad. Brian Lucena says, regarding the Giants, if they had pitched and hit much better, they'd be undefeated. Oh, man. I'm getting kind of punchy here at 1:25 in the morning. Digital Drew, Kings look hungry, Warriors look gassed. Simple as that. Well said, my friend. Hendricks, you're in denial if you think the Kings aren't the better team. The Warriors dynasty is over. Accept it. Tough talk, but he's probably right. Bruce R., Warriors need to cut down on turnovers. Have a feeling that the Warriors bench will play better at home. Can't play worse. Stephen C., I'm a Kings fan and watching Poole on the bench towards the end of the game, laughing while every time I saw Klay Thompson, he looked very serious. Sums everything up. Poole got a ring and a check. He DGAF. He doesn't give a fuck. I know my letters. I got teenagers. All right. Tony D says, Larry, can you tell us Poole's contract value in Gary Radnich's voice? $75 million. And it has another year and another year. Gary on the Zito contract. And another year. $26 million. $126 million. G-Rad was the best. Eric, we need your brother on, Larry. We need Kings takes. I don't know if my brother can hang in this forum, to be honest. Mark Hope makes a super chat. He says the Kings' pace of play, tempo, and intensity are a huge problem for the Dubs. I like Chase Center for concerts, not hoops. Love to Larry, Frank, and Baller. 95.7 Brian, the adjustment that the Warriors need to make heading into Game 3 is that they don't need to drive to the basket and stop chucking. Is that they need to drive to the basket and stop chucking contested threes. Sacramento has no rim protection, yet they don't attack the rim. Seriously, I mean, probably the best comment of the entire night. Right there. Attack the rim. Stop setting picks at 28 feet away from the bucket. Trying to shoot threes. Attack them inside. Gut them like a fish. Make them play you honestly. I don't know why it's so hard to understand. Brian Iglesias, teams who go up 2-0 in a series win the series 92% of the time. If the Warriors win this series, they will be the 9th team in NBA history to come back to win down 0-2. So you're saying there's a chance. Nate Dogg. Larry, thank you so much for having me on the other day. Absolutely, Nate Dogg. Good to talk to you in Woodland. Light the beam for Nate Dogg. Brian Iglesias, if the Warriors are going to win the series, Jordan Poole needs to be better. In 38 minutes in 2 games, Poole scored 21 points on 5 of 17 from the field, 0 for 6 from beyond the arc, and a -9. He's a -9. He has been horrific. How's that contract looking now? Brian Iglesias, Sabonis is showing his true colors in the first 2 games. He's a dirty player getting away with dirty plays. They ejected the wrong player tonight. Amen to that. My son, look at that. He says, like and subscribe, everybody. Got to listen to my kid. Nate Dogg, like and subscribe. Larry's the best one out. Thank you, Nate Dogg. Super chat from HR. I honestly feel the Kings are in a lot of trouble as the Warriors finally woke up after Draymond's ejection and realized they can score at will inside. God, I hope that's fucking true. Matt Wright, cesspool showed up tonight. Awful. Is that a Jordan Poole cesspool? I see you working. GTC Reels with the donation. It's not a lack of awareness. Jordan Poole is low basketball IQ. Oof, that's harsh. 808 Niner donation. Poole always looks like he's just got this predetermined of what he's going to do. He never reads the defense. He just puts his head down and dribbles off his foot or gets blocked. G. Martinez, Larry's killing it. He right. Thank you, G. Manny, I'm a new fan of basketball, so excuse me if I'm wrong, but to me it looked like the younger players were playing better than the vets, minus Poole. You're onto something there, Manny. Spencer with the donation. If you watch the play over, Sabonis goes to protect his face, and Draymond's foot is right next to it, and it's so quick that he released it before he got stepped on purpose. I think that is revisionist history, is what I would call that. He clearly grabbed Draymond's leg. He knew what he was doing. Brian Iglesias, you know what's going to happen in Game 3? The Kings are going to get a big lead by halftime, 15, 20-point lead, and then they're going to come from behind to win going away. Very specific prediction. Tammy McDaniel, the student has become the master. Mike Brown is schooling Steve Kerr. Whew. Mo, I have work in 5 hours, LOL. Mo, I guess we're sorry. How could we be sorry for entertaining? Nate Dogg, love you, Larry. Love you, Nate Dogg. Have a good night in Woodland, brother. Congrats to your Kings tonight. Jonathan Thomas, JD, since you were there, do you feel like Draymond is too much all about himself? And is he a distraction to the team? Damn, I wish I had still had. Should I get JD back to answer that one question? No, just joking. Could you imagine? Hey, JD, I know it's 1:30. Do you mind hopping back on? We got one more. That would be awesome. Nate Dogg, glad JD came on tonight. Good stuff. I am too. Carlo P, Giants baseball, nothing like it. Jorge Soler, deep drive. Giants had that thing early. Tammy McDaniel, JD is excellent. There you go. He is excellent. Tammy McDaniel, Cyrus is excellent. Look at Tammy McDaniel. She's consistent. Tammy McDaniel. Larry, excellent. Tammy, are you just an easy grader now? Mark Hope, Larry Sy, and JD, hearts. So we all kissed and made up at the end. Senior softball games. It was a great show. Thank you. Jenny Vega. Thank you, Larry. Thank you, Sy. Thank you, JD. Thank you, Jenny. Have a great night, Jenny. Shante Ortega. Krueger, the new Don King. Yeah, I just arrange fights. Hey, do you want to come on my show? I'm going to invite somebody who absolutely believes the opposite of what you've stated. You're just going to fight it out. I know Ryan Hensley's the biggest Trey Lance fan that I've ever met. I got to find somebody who's a big Purdy fan that's not me and just get them on together. Just have those guys go at it. We get Purdy's dad on here and Trey and get Trey's. Well, I want to say Trey's dad, but Hensley's almost like Trey's dad. He's so confident in Trey. Mark Hope, Larry, peace. Thank you, Mark. Have a good night. Tammy McDaniel, Larry, the show is fire. Fire. It was fire tonight, bro. Mark Hope, Larry's channel is the best. That's the plan, man. That is the plan. Ipodicus, Kings in 4. God dang it. They're going to sweep my Warriors? My brother's never going to stop talking shit. It's going to be it's going to ruin our relationship. Green glass full. Don't call Sacramento backwoods sort of fans. Wait. Don't call Sacramento backwoods sorts fan. Some fans are. Okay. Yeah, come on. Sacramento's not backwoods. It's state capital. I lived there. Lived on Cadillac Drive apartments. Lived on La Riviera. Went to Sac State. Loved it. Nate Dogg. Larry's the Bay Area boss. Just having fun. Larry's just having fun. Senior softball games. Great show, Krug. Thanks, bro. Car Gods. Larry, JD, even Cy. Great job. Even Cy. Tammy McDaniel. We needed Dan tonight. It was my executive decision. I said, Danny, sit this one out, bro. Nate Dogg. Krug. God, I can't spell. I don't know why I threw that in there. Hendricks. Light the fucking beam. Oh, man. It just hurts to even say it. The Car Gods. Larry, this is the best channel on YouTube right now. Damn straight. Larry hates Trey. God, come on, young Montana. So not true. I love Trey. I'm the one who said they should pick Trey, you idiot. Oh, I shouldn't say that. You're not an idiot. You're a great man. You're a great man, young Montana. You're just wrong. You're just wrong. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. We got a couple more here. Cy does get too emotional. Luca, Dan was here before Cy. All right. We already read that one. Let's get to the bottom of the chat here. Carlo P., I'd rather Dubs lose when Rye is not here. Okay. Rye hasn't been here for a little while. The Car Gods, Larry and the Warriors Larry, are the Warriors in trouble or are the Kings keeping up? The Warriors are in trouble. The Warriors are absolutely in trouble. Sabonis is a dirty player. Shante Ortega. Larry's getting loopy. Yeah, seriously. What can I say? It's 1:35 in the morning. Luca Luna. Larry, now that everyone's gone, you pegged the Warriors to get bounced by the Kings if they got the 6th seed. Then you made the switch to Warriors in 5. What made you so confident these last 2 weeks? Just the Warriors' ability to kind of turn it on. I thought with Wiggins coming back, with Peyton being there, I don't know. I don't put a lot of credence in the regular season. I probably should have, but I didn't. Babyface with taste. This might be the first comment from Babyface with taste. Ha, Larry is great. Poole is overrated. You're a casual, says Poole is overrated. I hate that comment. You're a casual. Absolutely is the least creative, least interesting comment of all time. Niners Chain Gang. Love this channel. There you go. Hendricks. Kevin Krueger. Little shout out for my kid. Seriously, my kid puts together some videos and really is kind of like the boss of the channel. Kind of tells me what to do from time to time, and he's everything. He's absolutely phenomenal. So I love my son. He's a great kid. I've got 4 kids. I love them all equally, but my son down at Cal Poly is really helping me quite a bit with the channel. So lots of love for Kev. He's a great kid. DJ Venus, Larry, you the man. We got this one, the Car Gods. Let's start a new trend, folk. Don't know time. Awesome work. Larry, keep them coming. You're casual. Larry, keep crying. Did I cry at any point? This guy's like, Luca's like, Larry, you can't possibly think Sabonis deserves to get ejected when you have Draymond Green on your team. He Palmer dude in the face, and he was lucky they didn't review it. He punched a guy in the face. Is that what he meant to say? Draymond, I'm going to ride with Draymond. I'm a Draymond guy. I got nothing bad to say about Draymond. I don't care if he steps over the line. I don't care if you don't agree with him. He's a genius basketball player. Nothing but total respect for the way the guy plays the game. Seriously. One of the smartest players I've ever seen. He reminds me of a cross between Michael Jordan and Larry Bird. Now, he's not on their caliber, of course, but he is as far as competitor. He's an equal competitor to those guys. Right there. That's amazing. Car God says, Brock all the way or Jake Haener? Hope Brock's healthy, but if not, they're going to have to get a quarterback. Maybe Duggan. Maybe Max Duggan from TCU. Maybe DTR. Not really sure which quarterback they're going to go with. I actually kind of think they're going to go with the BYU kid. Just because they're talking so much about DTR. It's got to be a smokescreen, right? They can't if they really like DTR, they've already met with him 3 times. Seems odd. Why would you do that? But maybe they love him. Maybe they're going to grab him in the 3rd round. Yeah, Larry, Orium 44. Yeah, Larry, wax your hair straight up like Don King and invite Danny and Cy after the next game. Ashley, good evening, Ashley, or good morning. Says, Peas love the whole show and those two going back and forth. Appreciate you always, Larry. Also, Mike Brown said Draymond should be invested, probably investigated maybe suspended. Mike Brown's playing it in the post game, huh? He wants a suspension. Donovan says, Larry, at least we have the Giants to watch. Yeah. You know what? I always watch the Giants, and I enjoy it, even when they lose. I don't know why, but I do. I just love baseball. Luca Luna, Larry is awesome. If I had a channel, I'd want to talk with this dude on the regular. Thank you. Senior softball games, talking about my kids. Says Cal Poly, great school, an alum. It's a great spot, man. In fact, probably 3 years from now, I'll be doing this show from a beach in, Avila Beach or somewhere down there because I just love it down there. Brandon Ballot says, Larry, how do you get Krug Show T-shirts online? Well, they're housed at Caceres in Dublin, but if you just contact me on Twitter and tell me what size you want and how many you want, I'll send you my Venmo. You can Venmo me. They're $25 plus shipping. And I've got a bunch. I've got large, XL, double XL, triple XL. Pretty good looking shirt, I think. I like it. And we got a bunch of them. So please do support the channel by getting some of the shirts. DJ Venus, look at him. Went to Cal Poly. Great school. Yeah. Shante Ortega. Larry been riding with Day since day one. Seriously, my kid, who's now my boss almost on this channel, was a little kid in a car seat rolling around, I think, in the back seat and I can remember like it was yesterday, the Warriors announced that they were drafting Draymond Green in the 2nd round. And I pumped my fist, and I think I reached over while he was in the car seat drinking his juice. Give me a high five, kid. Draymond Green's a Warrior. We high-fived. It's a cute little moment. But I knew Draymond was going to be awesome. I knew it. Absolutely knew it. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not going to be humble and be like, I didn't see it coming. No, I did see it coming. I watched college basketball. I saw Draymond lead a shitty Michigan State team to the Final Four. The team, Izzo had great teams, but it wasn't Draymond's team that went to the Final Four. His team was pretty bad, but he was the difference. What a great pick that was. Changed this entire franchise. Hendricks, Jaron Hall. Yes, Jaron Hall. That's the guy that I think the Niners are going to get. Otherwise, I don't think they'd be talking. They're talking up DTR too much. Gilbert Arbalo. Willard is so adorable. I hope he eats crow after the series. Yeah, that adorable thing is bad. Hendricks. Larry hates Trey. Come on. You know that's not true. Ashley says, did my undergrad in SLO. Always said I'm going to move back when I'm old and retired. Love the whole area so much. Congratulations to your son. Thank you, Ashley. DJ Venus, Pismo Beach. Great views. Great views. Ashley, one more here. Larry, have him make you do a 3 Peaks hike and go to Firestone for a free tri-tip sandwich. We just went. We didn't do the hike, but we went to Firestone. Great tri-tip. I mean, incredible tri-tip. I guess they're redoing that whole place. Tammy, is Draymond past his prime? I don't think so. I think he's still going pretty strong. John R., 2 a.m. Giants talk? I can't get into Giants right now. Carlo P., good to see you, Carlo. The mosaic is just getting started. All right. That is the show. 3 hours, 38 minutes, still close to 300 people in the room. Now that is incredible. I just want to do a little clap for all you people. It's a 1:45 in the morning. I mean, it's amazing that we've got this many people still hanging in the room. Let me just say this. Let me do one more check of the channel. We are sitting right now at 16,491 subs. So if you're one of the 270 people that are still in the chat and you've yet to hit like and subscribe, please do. If you hit like, that just helps more people find the shows. If you hit subscribe, you'll just be alerted next time we go live. And then we have channel members who pay $4.99 a month to be members for exclusive content. Be a channel member, support the show. If you want a t-shirt, just contact me and I'll send one your way. Oriam says it's only 10:45 p.m. in Hawaii. I got to call my buddy Jay on the island. He's working out there. Say, Jay, what's up, bro? You still up? Hendrick says, keep pumping out the content, Krug. Don't be lazy. I love you, boy, but you're fucking lazy. Urbanic. Love that guy, man. Absolutely love that guy. Meant so much to my life. Absolutely so much to my life. All right, what do we got going the rest of the week on the channel? There's people that really weren't interested in the show that just wanted to know what's on tomorrow's show that are hanging for this. No, I'm just joking. But here's tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'm going to be watching my kid play high school baseball at 4 o'clock. Go Northgate against College Park. I'll be there in Pleasant Hill tomorrow at 4 o'clock. Damon Bruce is going to be on with me tomorrow at 2 o'clock, or at 3 o'clock, I should say. 3 to 3:45 on my channel. So check that out tomorrow. Damon reacting to Game 2. Probably saying the Warriors are done. I'm going to be on Vish's channel tomorrow after my son's baseball game. So tomorrow night at 6:45 p.m. Krug and Vish on the Vish extravaganza at 6:45. Look for that. Wednesday, I joined Breezy on his channel at 2 o'clock. Looking forward to that. Thursday, we're going to have Warriors-Kings Game 3. I'll be on after the game. I'm doing a live stream before the game with Vish on the Niners, and then I'm going to be at my kids' high school baseball game again. Friday, I got a lot of youth baseball. I got a game at 4. I got a game at 6. I'm going to Friday morning at 9 a.m. Check me out on Grant Napier's channel, 9 a.m. And then Damon's going to join me at 3 p.m. on either my channel or his channel on Friday. And then we got a few other things cooking that we haven't confirmed yet, so we won't announce it. But really good stuff. Really good stuff. Loving the YouTube channel. Loving getting a chance to converse with all you guys. Loving doing these post-game shows. And, you know, the channel blew up a lot during the playoffs last year, and it's going to blow up again this year because there's just awful lot of dialogue. It's great to talk about a regular season game, but it's way fucking better to talk about a playoff game. That's for sure. Ricardo B makes a donation. Thank you, Ricardo. Mark Hope says, Giants Marlins, your thoughts? They got a win today. It was good to see Ramos get a hit. Good to see Joey Bart get a hit. The replay's on right now. Giants already up 1-0 in the second. I don't think it ends well. All right, that's going to do it for us. Thanks to all of you. Thanks for supporting the Krug Show. Until tomorrow, peace.
Yeah, never met a man I've been scared of. Careful, you gon' get exactly what you asked for. Here for whatever you bring me, getting handled. I answer.